Hello, everyone, and welcome to State of the Realm. We're back. Ultimate. I'm tired still.
Yay, you can do things again.
We can, that's content. Content, yeah. I just want to sleep.
Content.
I just want to sleep. We're talking about Ultimate today. I don't think that's a surprise to anybody, so let's get started. I'm Mr. Happy. Sly, you're here. I've missed you, pal.
Hi.
I missed you.
I missed you too.
I missed you. I hope to hear all sorts of tales about your PvP and Mario Party endeavors from while I was gone. I can't wait.
No. That's not important.
All right. And as is tradition, whenever we bring up a show about a new Ultimate, we usually try to bring on the team that worked on it first. So, sorry, Svi and Kyo, you get to have a break this time, because there's a new king in town. Team Neverland has been brought on, and we have a couple of their members here. Zeppe, how you doing, Zeppe? You're a returning guest.
Hello, it is I, Zeppe, or Zeppe, whatever you want to call me.
Did you have voice? I'm assuming one of those is correct, however.
Correct, yeah.
I think usually you just call me Zeppe.
Okay, there we go. All right. Well, welcome back. And first time guest on the show, somebody filling a very unique role that we don't really get to talk about too much when we talk about Ultimate. One of their, I guess I'll call extras, ninths, tenths, whatever you would prefer. We have Skylar. Hello, Skylar.
Hey. How you doing?
How you doing?
I'm good. I was the ninth member of Neverland of the allegedly Wolf First group.
Here we go. Stop it. No, we were not going to have this bullshit the entire show. We were not going to have this bullshit. We went through this from pre-show. No, allegedly.
I mean, listen.
I refuse it once.
I refuse. God.
That'll come up later, I'm sure. At some point. Allegedly. Allegedly, I think, maybe. There you go. Welcome to the show. It's nice to
The maybe legend.
the maybe legends. Imagine that your title specifically just says the maybe heavens legends. It's no.
So yeah, this show is sponsored by Happy.
It's sponsored by Steelseries. Still no giveaways for the moment, working on something with them, but still we have the discount code. They just put out a new mouse not too long ago, the Aerox 9, which is a traditional MMO mouse, something they didn't have before. They had fancy wancy stuff. Now they went with something more traditional. So I used it throughout all of Prague. So it's very fancy. So thank you to them. Be sure to check it out with the command or in the YouTube description. And shout out to our patrons who will do an extra shout out for a little bit later towards the end of the show. I like how y'all are memeing in the Twitch chat, like while we're in the middle of.
Well, I'm a big fan of that fatal mutation, bro. Like they are legendly. That's fucking big brain.
That is pretty big brained. I gotta admit, I'm a pretty big fan of that. Oh man. Okay. I'm the most relaxed on this show than I think I have been in weeks. Slide, meanwhile, just with his popcorn the whole time, just like y'all.
Mm-hmm. I'm just there watching all of it, and like I had like streams like on like I have a 3 monitor setup, and while I was doing PvP, I had like at least 3 streams going, just watching like all the phases, just seeing everything go on. So it was really unique to see like so many perspectives and so many different strats and whatnot happening at the same time, which kind of brings me to my first question for all of you. We've known about this for quite some time. Y'all had time to prepare. So what was the preparation like for you? What did you do to prepare?
Well, I think this is like a two-handed question for us in specific because initially into this prog we would have gone as 2 different groups, but due to certain circumstances we merged into one group 1 month before. In terms of preparation, I think you have your usual suspects. We went through the old extreme fights, Thornton, Nidhogg, And then I told pretty much everyone, okay, do the dungeons by yourself, the vault, Sorkai. And then after we finished that, we did that very early on. And after we finished that, we did a bunch of like extra challenges from our caster that he set out for us. And then I think that was pretty much it in terms of preparation.
That sounds about right.
We had to talk a lot, or we had to like agree on a lot of things as a group, because we did form this short before the ultimate. So that was, I guess, part of the preparation as well. I think at least one raid day we spent just talking about like, okay, how do you guys proc? How do you want to do breaks? How much do you want to sleep, etc.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Pretty important to be on the same page as all those things. And I actually want to extend that question very, very specifically to Skylar. So we have brought up ninth manning before. For those unfamiliar, it's the idea of having somebody who's more in like a backseat coaching role. You know, they can do all the research, start coming up with strategies. They can fill all sorts of roles.
Mm-hmm.
So was that the intention? Did you come into this knowing that you were going to be a ninth man right away? Was there any... was that like a role shift because of the merger that happened?
I've been hardcore progging since like Heaven's War pretty much myself. Lately I've just been kind of losing the motivation to do it, I feel like. And my mental's not really stable enough to do it anymore, I think. And I never really achieved what I wanted to. So when the Ultimate came around, I was kind of like, I made a Twitter post and a Reddit post saying I wanted to try out ninth manning for any group out there. Didn't really get any responses. I had Layla's group hit me up, but I never really heard back from them. And then 10 days before the ultimate, Zeppe DM'd me asking if I wanted to try for them. And it was kind of just like last minute that I just had to wing it for that group.
And how was the experience? I guess that was your first time going through it.
Was a lot more stressful than I thought it would be. I thought it would just be like sit back, watch POVs, and do some diagrams and callouts, but it's actually a lot more work than I thought it was.
Yeah, and I think that's something that has never really come across to most people, because most people don't see it. It's just not something people get to experience firsthand or see how it's done firsthand. So
there's usually a lot of things you can do as a ninth. You need to like put yourself into the mindset of, okay, what can I do in order to make the life of the people playing easier.
Yeah.
And as long as you keep that guideline in your mind, I think a lot of things fall in place that you want to do.
So to kind of go a little bit more in depth about ninth manning, is it as you are kind of like that spotter kind of role, is it a lot of like Photoshop, a lot of paint, a lot of you know stopping replays and then making diagrams, mini diagrams of strats? Is it kind of like that?
I would say definitely the replay part. I definitely went through a lot of pull footage, especially for the media phase, where I would just like take like 10 pulls of getting to the media phase because we wiped out every time we got there, and I would just make the diagram every time of each tower pattern of what we had, and I just like try to figure out if there was any pattern to it, and try to base a strat off of it. But that's what diagrams itself throughout the whole fight didn't really have to make many. I know Aya made a couple as well, or other ninesmen. And the group in general made a couple themselves. So mostly it was mostly checking through VOD footage and mostly doing callouts for specific mechanics in the fight.
It's usually a little bit of everything, I would say. Yeah. And in specific, at least for the group that I am in, our two ninth mans are also suspect of receiving random DMs from me in the middle of the poll, and me asking, "Hey, can you do this real quick? Can you do this real quick? Can you make a timeline? Can you quickly check this? Can you check that?"
Yeah.
So that happened a lot as well. I just
it's my first time. It was very helpful if members asked me for something specific to look for. So yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, very different than my preparation for Ultimate, which it was hardcore hours, but not an attempt at world first. Just we really want to get this done as quick as possible. So my most important piece of prep was this. Making sure that there was plenty of food and beverage in the fridge, water and coffee to get through everything. And then otherwise, I guess similar enough where we just redid the old extremes. We spent like 2 hours. We didn't even like do any more than that. It was just we all looked at each other. It was like, you remember how to play, right? Yeah. All right, yeah, then we're good. We're good. We've raided together before. We don't. We don't have to talk about it much. We're good. We figured it out.
That actually reminds me, when we did do the extremes, especially Thordan, I made a pin in our Discord with every single knight, their name, and every single ability they have, just because I was worried that they would, do something wild with it. And interestingly, I would add also that we also did the normal mode, because Thordan in normal mode actually has more mechanics, slightly different mechanics, let's put it like that, than he does in extreme, at least the knights. For example, the paladins do dash through the map in normal mode, but they don't do this in extreme at all, and they place these orbs. So we did the same for Nidhogg, but Nidhogg normal and extreme is literally just the same, except few more mechanics added in extreme. But the difference in Thordan normal and extreme was definitely noticeable. Also, the swing is actually hilarious.
Yes.
I don't know if
I actually deliberately said I
like
wonder
5 minutes on that.
I wonder if they're going to because I remember Skylar telling me that I think it was you, Skylar, that if you're on the opposite side of the map when he goes to do the swing,
it's faded on the furthest target.
Yeah, he like moves so fast.
It's a dive bomb. Yeah. It's a movement dive bomb. It is just so hilarious to watch. Like it happened to us coincidentally because we were just talking about okay what could they do, and we we're just chilling, right? And we get to that phase, and suddenly Thordan speeds through the map, swinging his sword, and we're like, what the hell is just happening? So we just spent there actually 10 minutes just letting him dive through the center of the map all the time, back and forth. That was pretty funny. And then obviously, I forgot to mention, I expected a lot of chain stuff to happen in this fight, so I did mention, okay, I want to do fights that have chain mechanics, and we also know that O10S was based on a lot of mechanics that Nidhogg used to do back then. It was the fixed version of Nidhogg, so to say, and so we did that as well, and also because the Vesvelga model and the O10S model are the same. So I figured, okay, there's a good chance that they may use the animations, the spin and the flip from Midgard Soma and put it on Vesvelga this time. It didn't actually happen, but I just wanted to be prepared for the case that it does. And other than that, I did make a tweet about it, but I also replayed the entire Heavensward story. I talked to pretty much every single NPC. I read every single side quest, just in case that there is some form of a really bad riddle.
That's some TPTSD right there. Is what that is.
that is a TPTSD. And for my group that did not do it, I pretty much made a short TLDR as well, up to the point where Ezale dies. So, I just wanted to be prepared, and also wanted to be more engaged and motivated for the ultimate in general, because I remember before I did this replay, whenever I thought about Thordan, I wasn't too excited about him, especially back then when initially Heavensward released. I felt like he died too quickly and he didn't have too much screen time, but after replaying it, I felt very differently. I was like, oh, actually this guy is pretty cool. And now in the ultimate, where he spawns right at the start of the fight after the checkpoint, and he just fucking pumps out mechanics, I thought, yeah, this is pretty cool. I love Thordan so much more now.
He's got a lot more screen time now, I can assure you
Yeah.
that. Every time I have the fight up on like a bunch of monitors, and it's like, okay, so they're on Thornton, and they're on Thornton, and on Thornton.
Oh, they're on Double Dragons. Oh, never mind. They wiped it back to Thornton.
Thornton. Oh, man. All right.
Actually,
Yeah. No, what was that?
I don't know if this is too far, but I guess it doesn't matter that much. When I did replay the story, I also note the area I also did as well, because I noticed, or like I thought, in the area, Estinian uses the eye for two things: one, to suppress the power of Nidhogg, and two, to generate this huge 90% damage shield. And I was so sure they're gonna use this 90% damage shield again in some form or fashion for a riddle, or we are going to pick up an eye like we do in the story from this Valgar, and then we are going to suppress the power of Nidhogg or Dragon King Thornton. Unfortunately, neither of this happened, but if this was a riddle-based ultimate, I think they would have probably done something like that.
Probably would have also been like 3 minutes shorter. Oh, oh boy. All right. Well, we got some general overlooks into the preparation, and now we have an ultimate. And man, I was already afraid of Mr. Ozma's name. He's not Mr. Ozma anymore. You have to replace his name with Mr. Thornton or something like that. It's because
Mr. Yuko 2022.
Yeah, because that man was unleashed. In total, if you include the Knights phase, which has another unique interaction I never had in an ultimate before, you clock in at about 21 minutes 45 with all the downtime included, something in that capacity for the entire encounter.
Yeah, it's pretty long.
It's
I was wondering, in terms of lengths, I was wondering if the checkpoint was done after they announced the delay, because the way I see it is that he probably worked on this a long time now, and he probably put in so much that he didn't want to cut out anything anymore. And I think the checkpoint was probably done so they don't need to cut anything out from it, but also keep the fight interesting and difficult. There's probably some parts that weren't as long if this fight was released in 5.5, or wouldn't have existed in the same fashion.
yeah.
Wasn't there an interview with Yoshi P where he said like it's not 20 minutes or like barely not 20 minutes, and it just like I just imagine him rubbing his hands and they'd be like, yeah, just we put a checkpoint of 2 minutes and the rest is 19 minutes.
But right after we cleared and I started to see the timer, I made the joke of like, okay, the fight is 19:55, and then the interview says it's below 20.
Oh. Every time we talk about it out loud. And I was actually curious about that. This is to all of you. Do you think that much changed from the way it was developed in 5.5's release? Something they said they technically could have achieved if they were to, maybe push back Endwalker a little bit. Do you think it did end up, and I hope they say this, do you think they probably did actually change anything significant between then and now when it released?
I'm not sure if mechanically they changed anything. At most, I think they added more stuff to it, but one thing I would definitely say is that in terms of how flashy it is and the VFX and the new things they added, I think you definitely felt the time difference. Like in the middle of Prague, I even mentioned this a couple of times to the group. I was like, yeah, you notice the 2.5 years in this. This is noticeable. It's pretty wild. So
yeah, I like the little additions of like the NPCs in the background and Alphino coming in to join and stuff. I think that was really neat additions to the whole fight.
Yeah, I do understand. Sly, how much have you kept up with? Have you watched like clear VODs or anything like that up to this point?
Yeah, I've seen clear VODs all the way through. In comparison to T and Uwu and Yukob, this has to be probably the most theatric ultimate we've seen. Like they really in terms of aesthetic put a lot into it, and it was more than a challenge. It was basically Square Enix's What If.
Yeah.
That's all it was. It was basically Square Enix's What If, and then it just happens to be an ultimate. So yeah, it's just doubly good.
Yeah, big thing is ultimate stories have largely been inferred before. You know, we know the events in the order they take place, and they maybe shuffle things or embellish things, but like they never stop and tell you, oh, the cat was the answer all along in T. But if you know T's lore, like Zeppe was very, very paranoid preparing for it, then you put it all together. You're like, wow, they really thought about that. But they made it an actual story. The minstrel he's actually narrating through the whole thing, letting you know how things got to be the way they were. He wants to imagine a different ending, and it even comes to a close with what is the Close on Heavensward story, but a reimagined version with the way Edmont would have told the story in the actual MSQ. So the parallels, and I have to wonder if we should expect this kind of quality going forward, because I think this is an example of the quality of the story and the game improving over time, affecting the way that the quality that Ultimate could be. I think it's a parallel.
I think like Square Enix really put the onus on themselves to kind of make something greater than Thornton for the next Ultimate. Like they really.
As long as it's not 20 minutes, for the fuck's sake. Don't do it again. Like, give me a little time before we do another 20-minute one, please.
I think they might do another checkpoint though.
I wouldn't be surprised about that.
Yeah.
And in regards to the checkpoint, I wanted to ask you all about that, because we really haven't even gotten into the fight. So you start out with knights, and then all of a sudden Thornton's here, and you just gotta give him one good love tap, and then after that you die, and what do you know, you're at Thornton. First of all, how did y'all feel when y'all first saw that there was this checkpoint? And knowing what you know now about Ultimate and like the timing of the fight itself, do you think the checkpoint was placed at a good point?
For sure. It was I think it was the right point for many reasons, actually. So what I like about it, first of all, the reaction obviously was like, what? No way.
Yeah.
They didn't actually put a checkpoint in this. What
like 7 people
hell?
yelling checkpoint.
What the hell? And then the second reaction in your mind is like, are there more? Obviously, we know the answer now is no, but in the middle of prog, after every phase, you're like, checkpoint, 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 checkpoint. And the answer is just like, no. And you're like, how long is this fight? But I do think, and I like it, because the other reason is in P1, you have mechanics that appear again at the very end or later on, and you don't get to practice them a lot because of the checkpoint. And obviously, when you're on the riddle part of the fight with Honchefort, you also realize, damn, maybe we should spend more time back in P1 again and check what we can actually do. And because you progress through it and you cannot go back to it anymore, obviously it's like, okay, we gotta reset the instance, or just write, right? So it was pretty good idea to like force the group or the players out of the phase that matters a lot, so that they are surprised about it again when they have to reprog it or like check what is possible and what is not possible.
I think another really important thing with the checkpoint was the discussion around what exactly was checkpointed past. Because the description of the Dragonsong instance mentions saving a dear friend, which instantly gets everyone's mind going. But once you checkpoint past that, you start to wonder, but
Yeah.
Huh? I mean, he was targetable. He had a debuff.
Yeah.
But we don't have LB. Like, there's nothing we can do. So I guess you're not supposed to save him. And you're like, yeah. And on top of that, like, what? They're gonna checkpoint me past it. Oh, we screwed it up. I guess I got to rezone. I got to re-instance to fix it. So it's just this discussion was driven about why. Like, why there of all places would they put one? And when you get to the reason why, you're like, sons of bitches.
That was also one of the things that went through my mind, or like our group's mind, was to think about, okay, maybe it's something like Uwu again, where you progress through the fight being Thordan, Nidastinian, and then the eyes, and then you realize all this time spent was wasted. And we have to go back to square one, and we have to do something in here at the start of the instance to fix it. And that was one of the first ideas once you got there. And then the idea would have been that there are two different checkpoints, something they might actually do in the next Ultimate, maybe. Where, okay, if you do something in P1 differently, you get to the other checkpoint, and then you progress the actual fight. Whereas if you do nothing, and you just progress normally, you get to the other checkpoint, the one that is with Thordan. But yeah, obviously that didn't happen yet.
Skylar over here just remembering having to knife man all these thought processes. It's just like I thought it was gonna be. I thought this was supposed to be fun.
I just remember when we saw the coming after the eye phase, when we went back to P1, I just remember the reactions very clearly of everybody. And like I remember like everyone screaming to save Hoshifont when he came back. And we just like heal him. And like it's like, oh, he cannot be healed. It's like, oh, he died again.
Oh right. That was actually also one thing. After we did save Hoshifont, I did actually think they would add a checkpoint here, because it's another Thordan phase, and this would also circumvent the issue with Uwu back then, and make it good here. Because what is the reason that Uwu was considered slightly easier than the other ultimates? It's because people already know the main gimmick of it, right? The main gimmick was, I think he said that in a FanFest, what if everything you did was wrong, and you realize that, right? And people nowadays, they don't get that experience anymore because they just read, okay, you have to do this, and then the boss awakens. So people don't prog through the original idea anymore, right? They don't get to experience that. And I thought to myself, okay, how could you fix that? How could you make the players progress through the entire thing while also having that kind of realization? And the way to do that would be to force the tank LB3, right, on Hoshifont. So you need to get the LB and go through the normal fight in order to get to the next fight. And so I thought, okay, it's like it could be a checkpoint, but then the realization kicked in. This is just a long fight.
And the reaction to that is mixed. Well, that's good, or oh no.
This realization of like we're only 10 minutes in, we have like another 8 minutes ish.
That was probably the worst realization. Every phase you get to, you're like, well, there's no way this is the last one.
Yeah.
Everyone's
like, what about the status bar and the it says you're at 100, and it's like, yeah, if only.
My eyes were so fixated on that. Like whenever we got to the new mechanic, I'm like, does it go up? Does it go up? Does it go up? Does it go up? Please go up! Please go up! Please go up!
Oh my god, I get a headache thinking about it. This fight did a number. It did such a number. And the Knights phase, speaking more about the Knights phase in particular, it's very Twin Tanya-y in a sense where I don't think anyone really finds any, like, you learn it and you do it and you get it done with, and I don't think anyone really thinks or struggles with it at once it's understood. So it's that first phase kind of formality that we're used to in Ultimate, but it doesn't feel quite Ultimate enough. But then you get the checkpoint and you really miss that because
yeah,
like it's remixed, but it doesn't like feel like you're like, oh, this could be Savage probably, you know. There's not anything too crazy here. It's just what they have.
Yeah, I like how Castle described it. It was kind of like it's like a tutorial. Like, are you ready for an ultimate fight ish?
It's Faust.
Yeah.
It's very,
The
very
fights are Faust,
Yeah.
really?
Yeah, it's Faust, and it's like if all three Fausts came together and just fought you at once. Not an idea I really like. I'm gonna be completely honest. Anyway, we get through the Knights phase. You get into Thornton, and I'm gonna say this, unrelated to the encounter itself. I am glad they did not use the Primal's remix of Heroes for the entirety of the Thornton phase.
Same.
I think with how much I have to hear it, I don't think it's the right track for Thornton in this case. It's a nice listen, but it's not a great track for the fight. I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah, I agree with that take as well. I think I've seen a lot of people mention that they thought the BGM was a little bit lacking, but I think it was the right choice the way how they did it, because the tracks themselves are already very good, and they're all very like orchestrally and like adrenaline pumping. So I thought personally I enjoyed them. I liked them.
I mean, I will say the eye phase was putting me to sleep some pulls.
I love that track.
Like watching it, and like just the mechanics are not very difficult, and it's just the music as well. It's like it's kind of putting me to sleep sometimes.
That's definitely the wrong place to close your eyes, as far as I'm concerned.
I think.
Sorry.
Speaking of that phase and the song, I think I would have, and I think that song needs more time to develop, right? Because it gets really emotional later on, and I think it would have probably been better if you had played this song up until Honchefon survives, but I'm not sure.
Yeah, the Honchefon music is literally just the Vault's background track.
Yeah.
It's not even the Vault boss music like you have in Phase 1, which was a bit weird, but the adrenaline was so pumped. At that point, I was just like this, okay, it's a Phase 5 pull. That's all that matters. It's a Phase 5 pull. It's no Nidhogg memes. Just Phase 5. That's all that matters to me right now. Just don't screw it up. But yeah, that one part's kind of strange. Although that's not so. The name of the track for the Eyes phase, it's not Dragonsong. It's something else. Yeah, so it's a track that's just it's like an instrumental of a specific part, and they take away a few instruments. So I don't know how much that would have kicked up, because they play Dragonsong in a later phase. So yeah, I don't know, but I think the music choices were still all good. The music choices felt like they were also trying to tell a story. And UCOB didn't have any remixed music. It just used the track from the Flames of Truth, trailer. And I thought that that didn't need to change at all either. So I think this is just a good example of it doesn't always need to be a remix.
No, yeah, I think the music was fine.
Yeah. And especially when I'm going to have to listen to it as much as I was in the Thornton phase. Because, yeah, it's a lot of Thornton. It's a lot of Thornton.
Back to Thornton.
Back
to Thornton.
And
from Thornton, we go back to Thornton.
That's the worst part.
Twice. E5 in the last phase.
Yeah, you constantly have to go back to. It's like go back to my weakest form. It's like evolving to Charmeleon and Charizard, and he's like, nope, back to Charmander every single time. Ugh. But this phase I thought was a great way to instantly kind of send a message to everyone doing the fight, especially after the Knights phase kind of being like a Faust. This was trios? Yeah, you're doing them now. Like, this is normally the thing they save for later. That's just how they've always done it. They wait for Ultima, they wait for Bahamut, they wait for, Alexander. Here, Thornton's like, I'm here. Like, I'm the first real phase, so I'm doing it right off the bat. I'm not waiting until later to do trios. And they don't hold back. They don't really hold back at all in this phase, as far as I'm concerned. Honestly, one of the harder phases in the whole fight, if I'm going to be honest, I think, in terms of execution. So going into the first mechanic, we have Strength of the Ward. And I have to imagine that the impression of that mechanic was reverberating for you guys throughout the rest of the fight.
Yeah.
You sound scared of it.
Oh. I don't have many thoughts on that in particular, but not sure.
Just felt like an ultimate mechanic, if anything.
Yeah, it's your typical trio, right?
Yeah. Just sets that pace very early.
I was quite surprised to see stuff start so early as well. It made me think that they will ramp up every single phase so much that there would be more checkpoints. But I think the reason why it does that is because it's just a modern UCOP, right? Where they notice the player skill has risen up so much that they really need to go all out right from the start. And I think it did have like a similar effect on me where I was like, damn, that is early, that is fast. I guess this is just the modern ultimate now. This is how the game is.
I think they definitely put it early on purpose because, like, if you remember, like, UCOP, like Heaven Soul Trio, it's like very deep into the fight, and having to practice that doesn't like you get very little practice on them later on in the fights. So like putting them early, like you have a lot of practice to get them right every time, and I think that's also why a lot of people like don't really like see them as hard mechanics, is because you just do it you do it so often 2 minutes into the fight, so you kind of just like forget that like it's not easy. It's not an easy mechanic to do.
Yeah, and that carries into Sanctity, which I think is a big show. It's light rampant, but ultimate essentially in terms of like how it treats the players. It's like, okay, well, good luck because you got to get through this to get to everything else. And that I still see to this day. I've been watching a lot of prog over on Twitch of people who are on Nidhogg, the next phase, but go through so many meteor pulls before ever getting to see him again while they work that out on more casual raid hours. So, Skylar, since you were the ninth man, I'm sure this was a point where you realized that your role in all of this was going to be far more than you initially intended. I think this would be when I would predict is when you really, really realized what your role was going to be.
Yeah, the meteor phase was definitely the first time I was like, okay, I need to go to like multiple VODs, multiple pools, start drawing out these towers and stuff, and try to see if there's any pattern to make this easier. Because we had like a strat, but like it was very inconsistent if it worked or not. So like just going to multiple VODs, and like I think Snap came up with like a good strat to go about it, was to look for the cardinal tower and just go to that one every time, any cardinal. And if there was no cardinal, you would just look for like two opposite ones. And that's kind of how we went about doing it.
Yeah.
Yeah. For day one, at least, we had a strat that worked about, like I would say, like 75% of the time.
Yeah.
And then when we went to bed and woke up for the next day, we had like a night to sleep on it, and we're like, okay, let's change this. This needs to be more consistent. But this mechanic in specific sets the theme for the entire fight, where they tell you we have this mechanic here and there are small patterns to it, but essentially this is basically RNG, so figure your way out of this and please go ahead and try. But there is RNG, and there will be a lot of more RNG in this fight.
If I had to guess, your strategy that worked 70 to 75% of the time was to anchor, like if you had two meteors opposite of each other, that was fine. You just probably paired up and then just went. And if they weren't, you probably anchored somebody and shifted two people over so that they were opposite. I have to imagine most people kind of went through that initial, oh, the meteors are opposite. They're fine. Just rotate.
We did try that as well, but actually what we did was we used north and west, and we tried to place the meteors as close as possible.
Yeah,
so to go opposite ways of each other, make a circle. That's what we tried. It did work many times, but there were sometimes when it was just okay.
Yeah, it's impossible sometimes.
It's not really feasible anymore. So.
Yeah, I can think of a few patterns where that doesn't work. If you get like a northeast and like a southwest one tower.
Yep,
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
but sometimes when there's like a giant open spot between them, it's like, okay, well,
maybe it's just recognize that, and then now you can do it normally. There you go. But then
Yeah.
that messes. I'd imagine that messes up with the end location for figuring out a tower if you have to swing that for that specific pattern.
That as well, pretty much.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean it's incredibly. It's so like you recognize it. If you've done Ultimate, you recognize everything in that phase immediately. But how it's laid out is a time.
yeah.
It's a time. And that's kind of how I felt. I don't know if you guys feel the same way. That's how I felt about this whole Ultimate. I never felt like the Ultimate broke ground in terms of what it was asking me to do. It was just asking everyone to do it perfectly the whole time.
Yeah, I think most mechanics, it's everything is kind of like we've seen everything before in fights. Like it's not something groundbreaking new mechanically. It's more so doing them all at the same time and 8 people doing it consistently every time.
And that can definitely lead to some tensions, groups out there. So stay vigilant.
Also, first case of Mr. Osma telling us he literally put every mechanic he can think of into this fight.
Oh, yeah.
Meteor placements were not a part of Thornton Extreme, but they are now. So
Not to mention arm's length.
Yeah.
yeah, true.
This is the first encounter, I think, in the game where you cannot do it without a knockback resistance. Or,
Unless you're an artist who still believes that you can do it without it somehow. But
I'll
don't
say
agree with
this.
him.
I'll say this. Maybe if you had 8 very specific jobs that could somehow, like, tanks just run in and
Yeah, all
take the
tanks.
dot. Yeah. Oh, yeah, all tanks. There you go. They all heal themselves through the dot.
All
Yeah,
tanks.
totally. 8 paladins just clemencying through the dot for, what, a
TVN
minute?
through it.
Wasn't it like a minute long or like a minute and a half
it's
long?
like a minute.
It does like 40, 50,000 a tick. Oh my god. Yeah. Or you can do that, some of the other pro strats where you just run through the fucking middle to drop meteors.
Oh, I've seen those.
Oh my god, that was the most trolled thing I've ever seen. But yeah, that is groundbreaking. We've never had a fight that we've had strategies that require arm's length and surecast, but never a fight that dictates it.
Yeah.
Oh god, Ozma.
I feel like you saw our wormhole strategies and it's like, okay, everyone's using arm's length there. Let me make a mechanic that literally forces you to use arm's length somehow. That's what I think, but I don't know.
Well, everyone likes to
But-
say every mechanic is wormhole, so I guess that's in line with it. You're gonna say something, Skylar? I thought you were.
Oh, right. I was gonna
Oh,
say,
yeah.
did you see the video of like I think it was the Chinese group where like they had like the auto walk macro
Yes.
and he would just like press it every time and to place them perfectly.
It's insane how efficient that is. Have you not seen that
Yeah.
slide?
Wait. Repeat that.
I think I'm
An
getting
auto
kinda
walk
better.
macro?
Yeah. Yeah. Essentially, it walks for exactly the distance you need to move to drop a meteor and then stops, and you just you just press it. Every single time your character stops, you just press it again.
Yeah. And it
pretty
places
smart
the
to
meteors
do.
perfectly.
And it places the meteors. You can do the bad pattern successfully with it, even. Now, I will say your ping is going to change how effective it is to some capacity, but it works largely. Like you need pretty high ping for it to not work, I think, is the thing. So that's the new meta. It's just auto walk macros.
We noticed and if we talk macros or like in-game stuff, we utilized something I think I haven't utilized ever in this specific way or like this efficiently. I guess this is like slight spoiler for future phases, but in the Ice phase and in the Nidhogg vs Valgar phase, we used a macro to place a head marker onto our own head. So pretty much I had every player make a macro for this. For the Ice phase, the tanks and healers had each to use one specific one for themselves. And in the Nidhogg and Vesvaga phase, we had DPS use all the same macro, the same head marker, to basically like show other players, okay, this is where you need to go, or this is where you need to stay away from.
Yeah.
So it's pretty cool to see, like,
Yeah.
to utilize something like that you haven't ever done. Really.
I kind of relate it to doing Ultima Weapon where you mark yourself if you get Titan jailed. It's not entirely the same, but like, you know, you give everyone a number, and then on Titan jails, you just, if you get it, you just pop the macro so everyone can see who has what. And then, it's something like, I mean, it's not even a macro really. You just have to mark yourself, but the macro will take it away after a few seconds so you don't forget at the very least. We did something similar. We had one person press a macro that put our priority list over our head. So we could see, like, you know, from left to right, we're 1 to 5, 6, 7, 8, which would be chains 1, 2, 3. And then we would just line up, like, we'd see, like, 1 and 2 have dark, and I'm 3. So, you know, they'll go to the wall, and I won't go to the wall and stuff. So, very, very interesting uses of the macro system, which can do a lot of things that we don't really consider if you're thinking about things a certain way. Excuse me, sorry, I suddenly have to cough a bunch. Let me take a sip of coffee here.
Stay hydrated.
Yeah, I like my bean water.
Stay hydrated. Yeah,
I'm a big fan of the bean water. Or bean soup, however you would prefer. Sorry about that. Okay, so Thornton, you get through Sanctity, you get through Strength. Ultimate End probably kills you first time you're there just because of how much damage it deals. All the transitions are pretty strong. But I think it's pretty common. Most people just die to transitions anyway, most of the time on a fight, because you're like, oh my god, new mechanic. Blah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Especially the J kick and stuff.
Yeah, exactly. And then you get to broad swings, which I thought was nice. I also did think they were going to use the wild flailing phase. I didn't know how, but I did mentally prepare for them to do something there. And I'm glad they did. It's a simple, you know, swings a couple times and you just get behind, then move in front. Nothing too fancy.
I was so ready for that to be the actual enrage, but I think they thought, no.
What, they was going to charge at everyone one at a time and just kill them?
Spread across the room.
Oh, man. But then
I think it was nice, the little debuff as well they added.
Yes.
When he starts losing control, they add a little debuff where it takes increased damage and stuff.
Mm-hmm. It did make people want to consider holding 2s. I think most groups kind of just stopped doing it pretty quickly because of the fight timeline. But I know we instantly were like, oh, so we should save 2s for that. And then we realized he was dead. Like, why would we save 2? Like, he's getting destroyed. We don't need to save 2s for this guy. And then you get into the phase transition. And I have a very particular gripe with this phase transition. It's got a bullshit snapshot is the problem, Sly. Do you remember Innocence?
Wait, you're talking about the final chorus, right?
Yes, I'm talking about final chorus. So, Sly, do you remember Innocence normal mode back in Shadowbringers where he would snapshot damage on you like fucking 30 seconds before he actually hit you, but you needed the like mitigation and shields up in advance? Yeah, it's that, but not as severe. It's like as soon as the minstrel says that the phase is changing, it like snapshots everything. You know how many times I've come out of that phase just with my shields left over because they were up like half a second late after the minstrel goes, hey, it's, you know, that's just the next step in the Dragonsong War, or Mitt didn't register or something. I'm mildly annoyed just because I hate when they do that, when the snapshot is at this like really, really weird time. So I just had to get that off my chest.
Wasn't there also a thing with the enrage cast that you spoke about earlier where like it takes your shields away or something?
Yeah, if you let the animation, and this is true of all the phases. I only mention it in Thornton, but it's true of all the phases. If you kill the bosses as they're enraging, but you don't actually die to the enrage because they like died mid-animation, it still wipes all your shields. So you can very easily kill the boss super late because you're kind of trying to hold off on DPS and maybe held off a little too much. And then you just die because you have no shields for that early snapshot. So that's, it's fun. That's a lot of fun. Don't recommend letting that happen. But fortunately, as soon as Final Course happens, Kyle descends upon everyone. What does he actually say? It's like Ak en un file. Or something like that.
Yeah, I'm trying to listen to it right now. I'm like, how are y'all getting Kyle out of it?
My name is Kyle.
I remember watching the PV for like 16, 18 hours a day, and like, every time we got to that phase, I would just hear something different depending how tired I was. It would just sound different in my head every time.
Yeah, and then right after a small number, which is funny because he's giving everyone numbers at that exact time. That's why you can't convince me that's not what he's saying. I refuse to believe anything else. This is one of my favorite phases in the fight. I am not a huge fan of big downtime trios. I much prefer stuff like Ultimate Annihilation, I suppose. Going back to Uwu as a rare example of something I prefer in an Ultimate. And so this phase being, again, a full uptime, careful kind of dance around Nidhogg and positioning. Like, this is the shit that I live for. I love phases like this. I don't know if this was a favorite for you guys, or you guys are just sick of it after a while, because I've seen it both ways.
I think I also really liked it, and this is where I had two realizations. One, if they want to, they can make a phase so cracked and force you to use 2 minutes at the start and at the end of the phase to meet the DPS check, and it would blow the entire community out of the water. You really started to notice here, when you also need to save the LB, that if they want you to do mechanics and like really hard mechanics with burst at the same time, that does actually like require a lot of mental fortitude, and especially like throughout a long day. The second realization was, the moment people start feeling fatigue, this is where you notice it the most. When towers aren't being soaked anymore, or gas goggles shoot the center of the map.
Through the middle.
That's when you know, okay, it's time for either a break or probably time to go to bed. I like that it's placed this early, because then you don't need to actually like waste 10 minutes to realize, okay, people are just not here anymore mentally. But yeah, the adding a DPS check onto something so fast paced is something that I personally love as well. I've been being outspoken about this the whole time always, and people always said, okay, then just move the 2 minutes. But what if you have to use them to meet the DPS check in the first place? Then yeah, you're kind of forced to do it. So yeah, I really like that, and I hope they do more of this, especially in Ultimates.
I think there's also the phase where you start noticing if somebody gets a damage down, you're just kind of screwed. The total you can get away with it, but like I think in this phase you're just screwed if somebody gets a damage down.
Yeah.
Especially since it's 75%.
I see everyone fighting over the percent. I've heard 60, 50, 75.
Oh,
I don't actually know. I just round.
I just know weakness is better.
Yeah.
Weakness is better.
Yeah.
Should kill yourself.
That is a fucking mood if I have ever heard one. Weakness is better. Yeah, you might as well just fucking die.
Yeah, we walled people constantly. Like, I mean, even in our
we did too.
Yeah, in our clear VOD.
Wow.
In our clear VOD, our Dark Knight guy. And by the way, a Dark Knight getting a damage down is just as bad as a DPS getting a damage down in this fucking
painful.
fight. Dude, in the first phase as Bard, somebody was like, "It's all right. If I died and got back up with a weakness, Whoops would be like, it's all right. Happy's just the 5th DPS because Dark Knight's just so cracked the entire time. It's just they're just built for it. They're built for like these like short bursty phases damn well.
I started progging it with a more casual group, and we just got to the Nidhogg towers as well. I definitely noticed like the fight's design. Like it comes every time you can hit the boss, your shit is back up on Dark Knight, so you just pump out damage.
Yeah, it's just so insanely cracked. Meanwhile, on part, I'm putting my dots of guys. The boss will disappear before they're even at 45 seconds.
Wait, Happy. So, well, did your group have? Yeah, you did have a Dark Knight.
Yeah, damn right we did.
So, was there a point where Whoops cited the Dark Knight?
You know what? He might have, and I might not have noticed. Because as a Bard, I never get any buffs on me anyway. I just give everyone shit. Mm-hmm. So I'm never looking to see who gets eye and who gets whatnot. But like, dance partnering a Dark Knight or eyeing a Dark Knight is not an uncommon thing in parts of this fight.
I'm getting the Dragon Eye in my group at the moment.
Yeah. It's
in the open and stuff.
Yeah, I mean, there's just no reason not to. I mean, Dark Knight's been cracked for the whole extent. Like, even through all the criticism Dark Knight got throughout the start of the expansion for its design and some of its shortcomings in its design. It's also always been cracked the whole time. So
Yeah. The flaws about Dark Knight's been more it's like the way it plays, not its damage.
yeah, and not its mitigation either. I mean, Dark Knight TPN is once again very good in this fight, especially with the especially because you just get MP back during downtime. Like you just sit there and just get MP back, and so you can just unload. And then when the boss comes back, you're like, all right, I got it all back. I got enough for a TPN if I need it. By the time the boss comes back, it's great. It's great. Dark Knight all juiced up.
Also, one more minor thought on the DPS check on the Nitok Estinian phase. I noticed a lot of people are like, at least in the higher end scene, that people were mentioning, the change to 2 minutes is so boring. Everything is 2 minutes now, and it's too easy. Yeah, same. After this, no, like there's so much happening. So
Yeah.
This is exactly what they should do, and I once again just want to reiterate. They need to do this more often. Put a mechanic on the 2 minutes, force people to use the 2 minutes with the length of the fight or the phase, and you just suddenly have a really hard phase.
Yeah, it was weird how I would say that organizing when your twos are going to be used was easier here by the sheer virtue of having no choice.
Yeah, exactly.
And compare that to Savage, where you do have a choice, but moving the twos is awful. Every single fight, like in Savage, they stick shit where the 2 minutes are, but it's shit that makes it unusable. So you just feel terrible for having to like delay, like Campeos Harma in P2, or like Pnax in P4, or some of the Axe in P4 Part 2, P3. It's all over the place. Here, it's very clear where you have to use them, and you have to learn how to use them while doing something. So, big improvement.
Well, P4 P2 is also forced 2 minutes because you want to have the last use, right? It's like 8:20-ish.
Yeah, and it's just, but they just like design it for horrible times, like all of
exactly.
Yeah. This one didn't feel like it was designed to be horrible. It was just, it was designed with it in mind. It feels like more.
Yeah.
That, I think is the way I want to put it. Yeah. So, twos coming back during, like you don't have twos during the big dance, and then you just have a tiny dance that does align with your twos towards, the 4 tower section.
Yeah, the 4 towers.
Yeah. And that feels good. Like you're like, yeah, okay. I have to stress on both of these things at the same time, but imagine having to really, really coordinate the twos during the tower phase. I mean, I'm down for it, but oh man, the thought of it is certainly more frightening, I feel.
But the damage the damage in general you deal in that phase matters a lot. Is
Yes.
what I try to get at. Like you really need to like make sure you are always casting and always making sure you don't like lose track of everything, so that you do meet the DPS check.
Yes, completely.
Because I think like across the board, from what I've seen on like progression teams on Ivy's stream, I don't think I've seen a team not use LB3 to get past this phase at the start. So there is that there is a lot of damage lost simply because people need to learn how to deal with this phase. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
Especially the delay in the cherry and then the dynamos are very deadly. You realize how slow they actually go off one after another sometimes, and it catches you off guard a lot.
And
At least I noticed with my group.
Yeah, and then the snapshot is so rude that when you get hit by one, you're almost get if it's in then out and you get hit by the in, the snapshot will almost always catch you on the out as well. To be fair, once you have the damage down, you're probably fucked. But the fact that it's going to hit you twice, you're going to live both hits, and everyone's going to look at the party list and be like,
Yeah, you get knocked away from your tower, so you can't get it anymore.
Yeah, and that too. It's just so troll. I always love looking at the party list during in-out phase, and I'm like, what's
So you're the judgy bastard.
What's going on,
you're
huh?
the judgy bastard. Huh?
Well, I want to know what I'm in for, because as soon as you see one damage down in that phase, your brain goes to, sure hope that was a healer.
Yeah.
I noticed it as well sometimes. It's like, okay, like as soon as like fatigue started to hit me personally, and I didn't like pay attention too much to it anymore. I was just hoping, I was just praying, right? I just do my own mechanic, and then afterwards it's like I open up present a gift. I look at the party list. Damage down, damage down, damage down, damage down, damage down. Oh, we have damage down. Oh no, it's over. Or it's no damage down. You actually get past it.
It's such a disheartening thing to see.
Yeah.
It really is. And you know what's even worse? When you get out of your 2s, you look at the boss health and you kind of think you're okay. But as soon as the 2s wear off and the damage goes back to normal, you're like, oh, shit. All right.
You're just like, oh, please be the Dragonlance, please be like another 10 seconds until he starts casting that.
Yeah. And you're like, nope, it's now. Oh, fuck. Maybe?
Yeah.
Crits? It's just, yeah, we've had a lot of crits. We've had like a tank get it, and we're just like crits, and then 0.1%. We've double KO'd where he kills us and we kill him, and the phase starts to move forward, but we get sent back. And that's another thing I want to highlight. Gotta remember, we have that extra like 2-second delay now before an before an encounter resets after you die, so you can quote unquote see what went wrong. I never needed to see what went wrong. It was just salt in the wound the entire fucking prog, as far as I'm concerned.
True.
It's 2 extra seconds before the screen goes black, and you're like,
I think it was useful for us at least a couple times, for sure, especially in the dragon and in the dragon space.
yeah, it can be useful.
I don't know if you want to mention
But
it,
more
but
often
there was
than
also
just makes you feel like shit.
Yeah.
the first time we noticed a bug in the fight.
Yes.
Oh,
If you
true.
wanna talk about
No,
it.
so
bug in the
funny
ultimate.
thing, this wasn't
Well, there's
the first
another
time.
one,
Yeah,
but- yeah,
this
there's another
wasn't
one, but
my
it's the first time we
time.
saw one.
Yeah.
We were really, really surprised about this. We thought we had the wrong idea for a few polls, but then it got hotfixed, and we're like, oh, damn.
Yeah.
Weird how like we can like hotfix like a bug in an encounter in like a few hours, and you know some other games need to like take the
And also needed no client
game
update,
down.
right? It was
Yeah, it needed no patch or anything for it.
Yeah, weird how that can be done in some games and not in other games. It's just
Actually throwing the shade.
I don't know what you're talking about. I'm just inferring that it's impressive. Okay, that's all as far as I'm concerned.
But we were really like, what the hell is going on? Because I remember it had to do something with movement, right? So it's what they said, that it had something to do with movement, that the mechanic would stop working. Because I remember it happened to us 2 times, and then a couple times where people didn't like actively mention it. But in the 2 times that we investigated, we were like, oh, I strafed to the left as the debuff went out, but I was looking in the correct direction. So we were like, is this something to do about strafing?
Yeah,
It wasn't strafing directly, it was just movement, but yeah.
Yeah,
it was really weird.
Our paladin stood perfectly still, but used Expatian, which spins his character, and it turned and went the other way. So we don't know. We don't actually. I'm not 100% sure what it was, because we went back and he didn't do any sudden like last second movements or anything.
Yeah, we were very like, if it's a bug or if it's stillness, we were very like debating what it actually was, and we just settled it as stillness until like the next day or something. I was reading my Twitter and I saw a JP news post from the Lodestone, and I translated it, and it just said like, fix the bug with the elusive jump, and I'm like, I linked it to the group. And it was okay, so it was a bug.
Yeah, but our reaction first was, oh, is it fixed only on JP? And the rest
Yeah,
was
it's only JP fixed.
That would be messed up. Only JP fixed.
I think it was actually only the JP one at first, and like an hour later it was DNA and EU.
No, I
as well.
think they fixed it for everyone all at once, but they only
Well, the
posted it all
Lodestone
at
post,
once.
yeah, the Lodestone post was later.
That would be so
Yeah.
troll.
They're really funny.
There is still another bug that's present, but it's far less intrusive. It's really only impatient. So, Skyward Leap in the Thornton phase, if you are jumping at the same time as you are getting hit by Skyward Leap, it sometimes delays the hit by 3 seconds. So you end up stepping into your tower and then bop, kills everybody. So we had that happen twice to the same person because they go to their spot and they just jump while they're waiting for the mechanic to resolve. And the first time, like, what the fuck? The second time, they're like, sorry.
speaking
Yeah.
of which, I think we also noticed that, at least I saw people mentioning it. There is that if not everyone is alive, on Sanctity you can see a 3 sword.
Yeah. So it combines the 1 and the 2. It gives you both, and it
Yeah.
looks like a 3. Yeah, it's
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, I feel like I saw that on our first pool. That's why I saw a 3.
you're
You
like
saw the 3
3 marker.
Confused.
It's not a 3 marker. It is the 1
It's a
and 2
1 plus
marker
2.
stack. Yeah, it's a 1 plus.
I guess it's not a bug. It's just
Yeah.
confusing.
Yeah. No,
I
I thought
ju-
the same thing. I got marked with a 3 at some point, so I know that.
Yeah, I remember the Skyward thing. I remember watching a Twitch clip of it, and I was like confused what happened. And then I remember like 2 or 3 days later in our prog, it happened once, and it was like everyone was so confused what happened. So I just mentioned like it's a bug and just go on
Yeah, not much you can do about
because we
that.
only had it happen once randomly. So
So with that, with the Nidhogg phase, we get through that. We go through all the towers, this very intricate, very specific dance with the in-out mechanics and the numbers and everything. Really, really, again, well constructed, and as you've said, a checkpoint for your mental state, in a sense. I mean, Sly, it's true. Like I completely agree with the assessment that if people are tired, you just lose pulls to this phase like
Yep,
constantly.
100%.
Yeah. The towers towards the 2 minutes, nothing too crazy there. You know, just a little bit of I don't know. We thought maybe they were the same tethers as the earlier phase. Maybe it's proximity again. Tried a few things and then just ultra tank cooldowned it. And then
Kitchen sink,
kitchen sink, because we were using invulns on the first Thornton mechanic.
first trio.
Yeah,
Yeah, we did too.
yeah, so we could 5 stack the Dragon's Rage, so it would like make it a little easier, and it was just easy positioning. Seemed like really almost common sense. I don't know, but you get through the Nidhogg phase, and you awkwardly enough, you kind of it's not this way when you're progging it necessarily. But after you start to get further into the fight, the next like 3 minutes is your mental break in terms of everything the fight's asking you to do. Because next is the Eyes phase, which is really just a mildly reworked Fang and Claw from the extreme version of Nidhogg. But done very tastefully, I feel.
Yeah, for sure. It's also this is also the part where some people had tinfoil hats on doing the progression time. What I personally really liked about it, and this is also coming from having replayed Heaven's Sword, in the cutscene where you would pull out the eyes out of Estinian, correct me if I'm wrong, I think Hoshafar holds his hand over the Warrior of Light, and Izael holds her hand over Alfino. And in the start of the phase, Izael places her buff on Alfino, and Hoshafar targets a random player and places their blessing on the player. So I thought that was like a really neat little detail that they paid so much attention to that to actually like do it so accurately to the story as well.
Now, I do have a question because I don't know in particular if this is the case. Does Alfino attacks the red eye, and you can see which eye is attached to which armor spot on Estinian. Do you know if that's the same one he tries pulling out from the cutscene, the one that he grabs?
I think it is the right eye that he pulls out, but I would need to double check.
Just might be
Yeah,
another
I don't know at all.
fun little detail that they might have thrown in there. And I wouldn't surprise me given how many of these little details they throw in. You can see Amaric and Ottawa fighting in the back as well. Something that isn't there in the final steps of, because in the regular final steps of faith, you know, it just you show off. You show up on the bridge and you're like, all right, here we go, 1v1,
Yeah.
1v1 me Nidhogg. But nice little extra details. But yeah, otherwise the phase is just kind of a mildly cracked up Fang and Claw with some tether passes. And I gotta say, I'm so appreciative that they put this, that the blues can't pass with each other and the reds can't pass with each other, and there's this 3-second grace period where you can't pass back. Thank God, because I think Ozma knows. He's definitely a 14 player. He knows passes are not something that are classically handled well in Final Fantasy 14.
Especially if 2 people are moving at the same time.
Yeah, and this felt like
also
a good solution to that.
I also think like another detail that probably a lot of people notice when they're progressing through the fight is that the auto attacks on the tanks don't actually heal the blue eye. So I thought that was also a good detail to keep the phase consistent in terms of how it functions.
Yeah.
Because we were initially, when we got to the phase, and we noticed, oh, what's happening here? And our first proposal and concept was like, we have to keep the tanks with red chains, because otherwise the blue eye is going to be healed. And when we actually looked further into it later on, we noticed, okay, the eyes don't actually get healed by or damaged by the auto attack. So
yeah.
I thought that was really nice in terms of design of the face, that it doesn't do that on the tanks.
Svi put it best. This fight, after doing this fight, can confirm that Ozma does indeed play Final Fantasy XIV.
For sure.
Yeah,
Sure.
I think definitely was something with the arm's length thing I already
Yeah.
noticed.
Was there any question beforehand though?
Well, I mean, so designing an encounter is not necessarily the same as being somebody who does those types of encounters. You know what I mean?
Uh-huh.
Like, we don't really know like the raid history of some of the previous Ultimate developers, the lead devs on them. But I don't think it's just necessarily assumed that they are Ultimate level raiders and that they pine to do stuff like this. Ozma is notorious for wanting to do stuff like this. So the fact that he got a chance to do it in an Ultimate tier encounter is indicative of just how much he likes doing shit like this and how much he understands the player base at its core. Meanwhile, you look at something like Uwu, for example, where they missed the whole Garuda thing. You know, it wasn't intended to wait Garuda late and do basically the easy mode version of the phase until the end. But the way the players think got around that, circumvented that pretty immediately. So not that means that Ultimate developer isn't someone who, quote, plays 14, but they may not be as integrated into how the players think about a particular phase or mechanic or something of that capacity.
I think the player base can definitely rest easy knowing that Mr. Ozma is the lead battle content designer. Because
easy? I don't want to. I'm not going to rest.
Yeah.
Okay. The way how I mean it is, if he will always be there, right, to do something good with his knowledge and his experience. Is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, he'll be like, the players will do it this way instead of how you designed it.
Oh, yeah, I think you're using all the wrong words for Mr. Ozma. What the hell?
he'll have somebody present something like a mechanic, and like the mechanic, and he'll be like, yeah, the players will do it this way instead, so you have to fix it.
Yeah, I do agree with that. He'll definitely make sure. Again, I don't think we'll rest easy, but we will certainly
be excited.
We'll be excited, yeah, for a moment. And then we'll be scared, and then we'll cry, and we'll go through all the stages together and be like, thank you. And with our tear-stricken eyes, thank you, Mr. Ozma. Thank you. It's so painful. I love it. It's so painful.
I will say about the eye phase, I remember terrorizing about the buffs for like a good hour or something.
Oh, God.
Until we noticed that we could stack them. I was like, and then we just like confirmed that like, you have to stack them. I was very disappointed, actually.
You thought it was like assigning parties to each of the eyes.
Yeah, I was terrorizing the whole time, like how we should assign these, and then Zeppe was like, "Oh, you can stack them." Like, wait, what?
Yeah, because I don't think we even theorized that long on it. I felt like it was very...
did. You guys didn't.
Yeah, well, you guys were doing the fight. You weren't.
So to me, it was very intuitive in the sense, because I just look at it like, okay, this buff lets me attack red eye, this buff lets me attack blue eye. I need to attack both eyes, so obviously I need both buffs, and you can stack them, because we noticed on the very first poll already when we got there that some people had obtained both. And we're like, okay, if you can have both, then surely that is just the intended solution. And if you do stack them, and you look from top down onto your character, there are two pictures of Isael and Hoshfon that line up perfectly, and the crystals on the outside of the VFX also line up perfectly. And to me, that was just like, it's fluff, you know, it's cute. Yeah. It's supposed to be like remembrance of the story, you know. And to me, it was just that. It wasn't more. It wasn't meant to be less. It's cute.
funny thing about that, though, is it also sets a precedent for something. So you mentioned earlier how when people do natural prog, they're very likely, referring back to Uwu, how nowadays, nobody goes through the whole, we need to figure out to waken them kind of thing. One thing people will miss is the alternate ending of the alternate ending, where you lose to Nidhogg in the follow-up one. Because what ends up happening, for those who don't know, if you defeat the double dragon phase without sparing Thordan, you go back into this I phase. But Hoshfont's not dead. Technically, Isael isn't either, so I don't know how the heck this is.
I think it's because of Velger's dead, right?
Yeah, I think so. I think it's supposed to be like the Velger Shiva, like the Saint Shiva kind of thing. But because Isael's in the back, like attack, like she's actually fighting in the back. She didn't die either. But you only get one buff and can't kill the eyes. And
you only get your Zill's buff.
Yeah, you only get a sales buff because Hoshfont's not dead, and we have the race Velger one. So it loops back around to now you've realized you're fucked, and you need to go back and change something else that you did. But I don't know if you guys did you guys do that? Did you guys kill Thordan and then kill Double Dragon and get this phase?
No.
That's what I thought. Yeah.
We on the first poll that we got through Thordan on that phase, we immediately noticed the cast bar stopped, and the only other time they did that ever in this game so far was E7, and we noticed, okay, that is significant. And on the next poll, immediately we said, okay, let's keep him alive. Maybe there's something important here.
Yeah. So that was it's kind of a disappointing thing that most people won't ever get to that kind of alternate. Like it's so easy to discover, to realize that that's how you're supposed to actually do it.
And there's also another small detail, an alternate end to the normal Dragonsong War, where if you fail the DPS check of the Eyes phase, Nidhogg actually takes control over Estinian again, and he has a new text line that you normally would have never seen in the story. And he casts Revenge of the Horde and kills you. So that was the alternate end to what would have happened if you didn't save Estinian.
Yeah. Again, very, very, a lot of attention to detail. So much attention to detail. And I really hope that affects Ultimates going forward. But you get through the I phase and the gauge is at 100. And everyone's like, okay, so the Dragonsong War is over. We did it. We beat Ultimate. Why was there a checkpoint? That was so easy. It's so
Of course it was. Of course it was.
Here comes the clock.
That's not
the clock. Thus did one song draw to a close. And I really want it because there's so much happening in this single moment. Like in this moment, you see the clocks disappear, you go back to nights, and everybody's like, what the fuck? And then you see Hoshfont. So in the sequence of events, what was your first reaction to 1, seeing the clocks, 2, going back to Night's phase, and then 3, seeing Hoshfont run in with a HP bar as well?
Save him!
I remember the first time I saw the Night phase, I screamed, "Oh no!"
Yeah,
that was pretty much our first. Obviously everyone was just like going wild and being like, "Oh no, we're back here!" But also like, "Oh, we have to save him! We have to save him!" Because we read it, right? It's like, here and now. It's another song. Save Hoshfont. What happens? It was. It's funny how they send you back and loop. It's kind of like a troll, you know. It's kind of like Uwu-ish, the kind of experience you have. I felt very similar.
Yeah, and it's not 100% a carbon copy because the heal check goes up considerably by keeping him alive. Both keeping him alive with healing and on top of the raid damage that goes out because of him blocking the spear the whole time. So they make sure that you can't approach it exactly the same. I know we had 2 different strategies for phase 1 and the go back around because of the extra shockwave damage. Because we did tanks first initially because we're like, oh, there's shockwaves and then the tanks, they won't be bothered. But this time it was like, we have tank LB3, let's put the healers first. So that way they can take the reduced damage and then focus on healing the entire phase. So it's funny with absolutely no different mechanics. It's still almost a completely different phase, even if it's still, not a hard phase. After the initial surprise and kind of breaking it down.
Initially, we had 2 different ways, or like a different order for who takes the soaks or like the baits. But we also agreed while doing it that we should adjust our P1 to be the same way, just to keep things consistent and not cause anyone to be like, oh, I forgot we were here. I thought we are P1. Falling back to like old muscle memory.
Yeah.
So we just kept it consistent and changed. Basically after as we progressed to that phase, we changed our P1 to both be the same.
Yeah, we never made that change. We just went with the easiest way we could think to do it. We just remembered to communicate HMRT. That's what it was. Party chat and out loud. HMRT. Just to make sure.
We said HTRM, and I like to do. I basically call it out like HITRM, and the reason why I do that is, okay. So if you hear something absurd, you start to remember it simply because it's absurd. So sometimes I would say really weird things just to keep everyone on a mental check. And I remember at some point, Hila was like, "What are you saying? I can't understand.
What are you saying?
Are you saying something German?" It's actually just the order.
No, I agree with that assessment. I when I do calls, I like to rhyme. So like for E12, I'd be like in tight left and right when it was Ifrit and Leviathan, since it was like really close, but you had to be on the flanks. So I understand. For us, this one it was Zeph making exaggerated noises. H. Tea and mint. Tea and mint was my favorite one because it started as tea and mint, but then he started saying mint, or at least it sounded like he was saying mint. That's how we got through. It was just the easiest way. So I understand that. And then you save Hoshfang, you save your boy. You kill the spear, he stays alive. You're like, all right, we did it. And you immediately wish you hadn't. You're like, oh my god, no, we shouldn't have done this. This is the worst. This is Zephyrin. Zephyrin, you're a hero. Just know that. Oh.
Well, speaking of that phase, one tinfoil theory that apparently another group also had.
Oh boy.
Was what if we healed the blue eye up to full and killed the red eye? But I shot that down so fast because I was like, there's no way.
That's the stupidest
absolutely
thing
no way that this is the intended solution, because you do this accidentally in the first place anyway when you wipe to the face. So.
Well, you probably don't kill the red eye, but you definitely heal the blue up to full. Oh my god, yeah, I would never allow it. I would be like, listen, if we get to a point where we have to come back, I will humor this, but not right now.
Oh, I also want to mention before we knew you had to think of to save Oshafont, we tried to loop the fight again.
And then you couldn't kill Thorin, yeah.
No. We actually did it in one try. We got to Nidhogg, but we messed up the tower positions.
Oh.
And at that point, we were kind of like, "There's no way. This is actually the intended way to go about doing this."
You can endlessly loop this if you really wanted to.
Is that going to be? We're going to have a charity event. We're going to see how many loops.
So we went
for 2 hours, dude. 2 hours.
Keep
World
looping.
first 2 hour Thorin Ball.
How many loops do you stop at though? How many loops?
How many?
2 hours, because that's the instance timer.
Yeah, but how many loops is that? Like time? Like how long does it take to loop back? I guess
25.
25 loops. Yeah. Okay, that's not
about
right.
like 20, 25.
Yeah.
I do think at some point you run into the issue for the damage check, though. I think maybe. You don't think so?
No.
Because I do know like every other group except ours had issues with the damage check if they tried looping it.
Yeah, but you also have infinite LB3s.
I guess.
Yeah, but you have to save it every time. You can't use it. You need it for Hush Font every single time. I have to imagine they put an end to that. I'd imagine you get all the way through the second time, and Mitchell's like, okay, no, for real this time.
You've had your fun. Let me hit the L before you.
Please, don't do this.
Hushapod
eventually
gets
eventually just closes the book.
Yeah, he's like, nope, I'm not doing this.
Just close the book. Like, no, I'm done.
Hushapod just
the
doesn't
way.
show up anymore. He just doesn't show up. He's like, yeah, you just get hit by the spear. I don't care anymore. I don't want to die anymore for you.
That would do. Now I actually want to know if when you do finish a loop, I would be insane attention to detail if he says something different if you actually finish a loop. That would be amazing. Maybe when Dungeon Gear, like Dungeon Bis, comes out and it's like Nidhogg's a little less stressful of a phase to
It'll be
loop
a
back
bit
around.
easier, yeah.
Yeah. So, we'll leave the book open on that one for now, as far as I'm concerned. No closing the book, Sly. We got to leave it open for now, and then we can close it later.
We gotta close it.
No. Well, infinite looping, infinite loop pull incoming. Yeah, but now you're back at Thornton, and it's pretty. They waste no time letting you know this is very different than the last time you fought Thornton. You have to infer some of the lore. What happened, Sly?
He was not fucking around.
No. So what's theorized is that in this timeline, you are not spurred on to pursue him as quickly from Hoshfont's death. So he beats you to Bismarck. He beats you to Azys Law. He actually fully absorbs the Triad, which I guess they didn't want to include Triad mechanics. Well, that was the point of him going to Azys Law, was he was going to absorb all the ether from Azys Law, which was the Triad. And him doing it is what releases the Triad when we kill him. So that's what weakens their bonds and everything. So, but because of that, he's so strong, he's just tempering dragons with Nidhogg's eye at this point. So and then he becomes the UCOB 2 Electric Boogaloo.
Dragon Knights of the Round.
Yep. And what a fucking wild brain trip this was after years of UCOB being out. Because that's all this is, UCOB 2. It's what it is. I don't...
Pretty much, yeah.
Okay, wait. I got to ask your reactions. Seeing Twisters.
Oh, God. I think
We
nobody
did
actually got
that
hit
shit.
by them the first time, no?
Yeah.
The first time, nobody got hit by one. Everyone was running around, and it was like, oh, that's Twisters!
It was basically another case of, oh, he did put in every mechanic he can think of.
I saw the cast bar, I saw twisting dive, and I said, oh, for fuck's sake. And I moved, and I was like, yup. There's a fucking twister on the ground. God damn it. I also, as it was casting twisting dive, I saw lightnings getting marked. I saw the cast bar. I saw the other dragons. I saw the dive bomb marker. I was like,
The warrior spawn, the fire did spawn in the middle.
It did feel like Quick March a lot, but basically more random. Full random, basically, right? Mm-hmm. You can get any mechanic, and it did feel like parallel to Quick March. It's just the modern version of, hey, if I did UCOB right now, 2022, this is what it would look like from the Wandering Minstrel. Have fun.
Fucking twisters. Can't escape them. Everywhere we were already calling Skyblind twisters for a while. It's not, but like we were calling them that. Like, oh, this is this fight's twisters. No.
It's the baby Twister.
No, this is this fight's twisters. Oh god. Oh yeah, it just kicks off so immediately between. Ironically though, Wrath of the Heavens is the first one. Not as stressful as Thornton 1 for this part, at least for the beginning. I felt you're so acclimated as an Ultimate Raider, most likely, to what UCOB mechanics do and what Thornton's Phase 1 mechanics do, that I feel like Wrath of the Heavens, you quickly kind of get over that, oh my god, it's UCOB again, fear I suppose. I don't know if you guys went through that as well, specifically for Wrath, not for Death.
Yep.
I don't think so.
No, you were afraid the whole time? I can't imagine.
Well, at least for me personally, when I looked at Wrath of the Heavens, I thought it was relatively okay-ish. Like I felt like you split the groups, you go to the opposite side. Well, there's also the thing I would probably need to mention in the way how we tackled these kind of mechanics. We pretty much agreed early on that we would only go to sleep after seeing something new. So we would have the ability to sleep on the mechanic and process it, and then on the next day, someone probably stayed up. And most of the times, it was our caster who would then, or some other people who would then, draw something up, and then we'd look at it on the morning after we wake up and be like, okay, yeah, this makes sense. So we didn't really feel fear, I think, because of that.
We never felt fear.
At least not for this, but for the next mechanic. For sure.
I was gonna say we never felt fear. I'd imagine as ninth man, some of that fell on you quite frequently, Skylar, for them to expect something waiting for them the next one. I know they said it was the caster, but as a ninth, I'm assuming you played a hand in that as well.
I mostly looked at the footage a couple times afterwards, but some days I was just really tired from calling the whole time. I did help Suki sometimes out with it, but I would give the most credit to Suki, our caster, for these kind of things.
Yeah, interesting to hear you spend a vast majority of the time actually calling the mechanics. I'd assume a Discord stream would have been the way that you... Yeah, okay. I figured we did a lot of screen sharing and stuff just for strategy, I'd say. But I think that's something people don't consider is specifically Discord streaming, because if you're going to do calls, you can't have a delay. You
need the fast version.
You need
you need such an immediate
I think Discord
feedback.
is very
and in regards to that, were there any issues with Discord streaming? Because we've had our issues. I have my issues with Discord every fucking week. So in regards to streaming and actually having something that's timely, in terms of being current in terms of milliseconds, seeing mechanics, whatnot, and then even the quality of the stream, were there any issues with it?
I do definitely remember watching Zep's POV, and then the Berlin internet would kick in sometimes. So the whole stream would become really pixelated, or I would either have to squeeze my eyes to see the Casper if it said Nash or Lash, call out which one it was.
That's not a good mechanic to have to squint for.
Or I would literally have to ask somebody in the group to be like, okay, I can literally not see the screen. Somebody else please call the next mechanic.
Yeah, sometimes I think we have some Germany-wide internet problems right now. They're slowly being fixed, but actually just the next day after we cleared, my internet started to get really bad, and I started to have a lot of disconnects. So I was very glad that we did clear. And I think in the middle of Prague, sometimes the Discord stream would get pixelated, or our Dark Knight was also streaming Discord sharing, and I think he also had a bunch of technical issues like internet dropping or power dropping.
Yeah, power outage a couple times.
Yeah.
Well, you powered
through.
Other than
that, not too many.
Powered through. Got through it.
Oh, yeah.
Then alleged success. There you go. Sly, listen.
Stop. We talked about this. Fucking stop it.
Sorry, I hit my head on
Oh,
the
God.
mic. Sly, it's okay. It's okay. It's all fun and games here.
I will say for Rat, I think Zep made a very important point early on when we saw it, that to assume the liquid hell or whatever it was called, liquid heaven, that it was not baited on the 4-person. To assume it was actually the second set from UCOP, where it's the random one, it picks a random person, instead of assuming it's a 4-person. Because there was a couple pulls where you could assume it was the 4 one, but it wasn't consistent enough.
Yeah.
apparently when we talked to other groups or like other WordPro groups, they were mentioning that they were stuck on the idea that it was baited, and as the Fizz ranged in UCOB, baiting Liquid Heavens, and then also knowing that there's one set that's baited on the furthest target and the other set is random, I was pretty much dead set on saying, okay, this is just random. This is just how it's gonna be. There's not gonna be any like rule set to this other than, okay, the people that had the tether are probably not gonna they can't have the Liquid Heaven bait because it's magic damage and you have a magic bone. To me, it just felt very intuitive to assume this is just going to be random. This is like Uwu suppression. Every person gets like a mechanic.
Yeah.
And that's it. That's the mechanic.
It's funny because I was making notice. Someone else has also done range fizz there. I was like, man, you can tell who has baited liquid hells in UCOB and who has never baited a liquid hell. You watch the way some people try to move with it, and you're like, that's oh man.
They put them like in the center of the arena.
Yeah, you're like when you're the range fizz, you have like 3 of them almost like stacked on top of each other, so they barely take up any space. And then you like have you take a step forward, another. You can make like a little like triangle like this where they just barely overlap in one spot. But other people, it's like one here, one here, one here, one here, one here. Just these massive like, oh, I have to sprint. Oh, that was really funny. Especially because if you stood next to somebody with a magic bone, you would also kill them because of the splash damage from it. So we had people that were like, wait, how did I get snapshot killed there? Because they're not used to like when these things snapshot from UCOB. It's so weird how much being the ranged fizz liquid hellbaiter of all things from UCOB was beneficial here. I normally consider that the boring job. But it was nice to have had that experience here. And also the 2 thunders. Oh, God, the nail mechanics. So many nail mechanics. I'm so glad there was no fire and ice. As soon as I saw everything, I was like, please no fire and ice, please no fire and ice, please no fire and ice.
Well, it does come back later.
Yeah.
Somewhat.
Yeah, you're not wrong. It does. But not like nail. So I didn't want that. That's all I didn't want. Yeah, and the twister timings are different here, too. That messed with a lot of people. They were like, yeah, I'll just move at the end of the cast. And they would start moving and stop, and then they would die.
I remember, well, I didn't mention this to anyone in the group because I basically figured I'm just doing this the way I do it and just keep it to myself. But this is 2017 knowledge, UCOB progression, me, the 9th man, listening into the group I was helping with. And I remember they were having a lot of fun and jokes about how and when to move up for Twister, and they said you look at Bahamut's or Twintania's feet, and when the feet moves, you move. And I just remember, it's just weird things like that I remember, and I was just like, okay, I'll just look at the feet, and if they move, I move.
What the fuck?
You can probably ask Momo about it. He probably still
Zepp
remembers.
looking for Twintania's OnlyFans.
Look at the entire feet.
Zepp, a true feet enjoyer in Prague, as you can see. Probably really jealous of whoever took Thornton's Tank Buster, I'd imagine. What a way. Okay, that's going in the guide. I want to put that in the guide.
Look at the dragon's feet.
Look at the feet.
Look at the feet.
If you move.
Feet enjoyers.
Oh, put some socks on those. Anyway. Wrath of the Heavens, fun to talk about, but not a very memorable thing compared to Death of the Heavens. Which is, I think, the true wall. I think the real you will lose pulls to this. You will lose enrage pulls. You will lose double drag. You'll lose everything to Death of the Heavens. It's okay.
Oh, I was just about to say when they when Yoshida mentioned in interviews or in the live letter before that he expects people to take about 4 to 6 months. I think he had this mechanic in mind.
I think he had the whole fight in mind looking back at the meteors.
Probably, but I think this is definitely the one mechanic where I would say that many groups will need a lot of practice and a lot of time on that, especially because it's about 10 or 11 minutes in.
Yeah.
So you need to remember you can only get about 10, 11 pulls per lockout on this. And depending on how long you raid in the night, the amount of times you can practice this mechanic shrinks significantly, especially when you also add like breaks and everything.
Yeah.
So,
and that's a semi-overlooked thing about all ultimates to some degree, but especially UCOB and now this one is how many pulls you actually get, especially if you're doing a 3-4 hour raid night. It just I always recommend that if you really want to get a clear night, you almost want to commit doggo. Shh. Neighbor's dog. Done? Okay. You really want to almost commit like a weekend where everyone's available, like one day on the weekend where you can do an extra hour or two. So that way you can make up for the potential loss of pulls to just how long the encounters are. And this mechanic is, it was Wormhole for T. It's been other things for the other fights like Ad Phase for Bahamut. But for this one, it's this. This is going to eat your pulls. This and the next phase will just eat so many pulls when you're just trying to get through and get a nice clean prog pull or clear. So,
especially also because right after the mechanic, he is so mean to the player base that he puts a significant DPS check there. And if you have that player, chances are you're probably not meeting that anymore, unless if you have the right jobs in your group.
Well, I do think most groups will resort to using the LBs there.
Yeah,
what I've seen.
But it's still like the more people are dead, the less likely you actually meet that check.
Yeah, even with one or two people dead, even with the LB, if target selection is bad, it can be, especially this. Okay, so first of all, Death of the Heavens, as much as it's a wall, again, I don't think it really stands out as anything too crazy or unique. You know, again, it doesn't break ground for the first part. It's very specific. They give you a limited amount of space. They give you a bunch of debuffs, and then they give you tethers and a knockback. And it's like, okay, piecing together how this is done is not the complicated part. It's doing it consistently, getting marked with Doom or not Doom, and getting used to where you would run and how you dodge the earths and everything. But fundamentally, it's very clear and easy to understand. And that's something I really do appreciate, especially compared to something like Meteors, which was a visual clusterfuck in the first phase. It is for a second, but the individual pieces are kind of laid out very well in advance. I don't know if you guys felt the same.
No, I definitely agree. That this is also like one step of my own preparation for this ultimate. You just mentioned it directly, but they said before, this fight is going to have mechanics that are simple to understand. Like you see them and you're like, okay, I get that. There's an eye, there's a dragon dive, I go to my position, that's all fine, and there's a knockback, and I have a symbol over my head. That's okay. And then you get there and you do it, and you're like,
how do I do this?
How do I do this again? What am I doing? And they did specifically mention this beforehand, and I thought to myself, okay, like how would I achieve that if I wanted to do this as well? And the added RNG to this mechanic and to the fight in general is exactly what I thought they would do, and they did that. And I think it's pretty good that they actually mentioned, like, were able to like so accurately depict the fight, and it also came true.
Thank you, Mr. Ozma. Thank you for all the pain. Thank you. But you mentioned the Meteor DPS check right after. And really, I mean, Nidhogg, the previous toughest DPS check. This the toughest check in the entire fight, period. Even including the next two phases, I think is fair to say. Because you get about 5 or 6 GCDs if you're choosing just to kill them outright. To kill 8 meteors.
Yep.
And that's
There's also the big meteor.
Yeah.
If you noticed.
Is there?
you know, in a certain extreme, they have the small and the big meteor.
Yeah, they have the small and the big.
And this
one.
is the 8 big meteors.
Oh yeah, okay, yeah. Sorry, I thought you were saying
just
and
visually,
there's a big meteor. Okay, I was
No. I was just trying to mention like it's basically like visually he's trying to say this is the big guy. He has 8 of the big ones, not just one.
Just the small ones. Yeah.
Yeah. And then on paper it doesn't sound the worst. Oh, they got like probably like between 150 200,000 health about. You can figure that from just hitting them a few times. And you might burst one down super quick. You're like, oh, okay, this isn't that bad. But then when you get there every time and you're in a different spot every time and the people next to you are different every time and where they're going to want to AoE is different every time, suddenly organizing it so that they all die, you either have a dancer and you laugh or you don't, and you pretty much need to figure out how to do it.
No, the Astra as well.
Oh yeah,
The Astra is also does
our Astra would Star and Macrocosmos there, but our Astra made a habit of holding lords as soon as they got one at any point in the fight. Like, no, that's it. I don't have a lady for the rest of the fight. I'm holding it.
Yeah, I remember when we saw Meteors for the first time and we blew out 2 minutes right before it, right before death. I remember like right away saying we should probably try saving tech step for the Meteors.
Yeah, it was my immediate reaction as well. Mm-hmm. Just because I knew it would hold my own DPS like far back because everything desyncs now. But whatever gets the clear gets the clear. So hold the tech, hold the devil, hold the potion, and just
pray
drop
for
the
the
nuke in there.
lords.
Yeah.
Blow it all up. And it doesn't. And the initial reaction is that, but it really, fortunately, you fix it before when it matters most at the very end. So it kind of works out. Again, it just, the fight feels like it's designed to do these little things. It's really, again, impressive how much it feels like that decision is not a bad decision when it normally would be.
Yeah. Although I do lose one set of 2 minutes because of that. On the part when Nidhogg and Vesvaga come down for the touchdown, everyone else has a second set of 2 minutes, and I do not have to save it for the Dragon King.
I was gonna ask if you were then 2-minuting as soon as you could in that phase, or if you were gonna skip the 2 minute, the first set of 2s during Cray, and then realign them there. That's what I was wondering what you were gonna do.
I probably should have just used it there, but I kept it on CD basically because I was hoping that the phase would last long enough, but it doesn't.
Yeah.
And I was just not using it because the dragons just die too fast.
Yeah, thank goodness.
Also, in reference to what Skylar said earlier about Mr. Osma taking a mechanic in Wormhole and actually doing a mechanic now that requires arm's length. When I saw Death of the Heavens, I mentioned to the group that I thought he saw Wormhole, he saw the strat that did utilize arm's length, and he probably thought, I don't like that. People have to use the knockback, and now you have to use the knockback to break the chains. You cannot arm's length this unless if there's a dead person. So there's that. That was my thought, basically. He does play the game.
I'd also like to put out there... No, sorry, Sly.
No, go ahead.
I was going to say, PTA, if you die at the first part of Death of the Heavens and you get up just before the knockback, please arm's length and just stay in the middle of the room and let the other 7 people do their knockbacks. Please do not try to figure out where the safe spot is. That is a quick PTA to anyone progging it right now, because you can get through the meteors with a death. You can. But if you fucking go the wrong way and kill a bunch of people, it's going to go south very quickly. Done.
Yeah, for sure.
So, Sly, what were you saying?
No, I was saying I can only imagine for the next ultimate. Now that we have new strats, you have new strats. What Mr. Ozma will take into consideration and like what way he'll try to fuck you this time. So, okay, now that like he's gotten you to use your knockback immunity, what else is he gonna throw at you? What else can he?
Well, there's another one later on coming up, actually.
Yeah.
Where he's like, oh, you have this utility. Make sure to use it.
Yeah.
We'll talk about that.
Mm-hmm. Also, a quick reminder. There's no guarantee he's going to be in charge of the next one. And if anyone recalls,
I don't think so either.
The person who who led the development of Uwu, actually said he had a wish list of the next one he would work on. And in terms of the way they've structured their ultimate releases, he might be next if he's still in a position to do that. He also said he really didn't enjoy. He thought it was too stressful of an environment making ultimates because of how precise the community wants everything to be and how scrutinized it will be if it's not right. So maybe it won't happen. We'll see. We'll see. Okay.
Mr. Atma's coming back. Take his revenge.
I don't want to.
The community is saying Uwu is the easiest.
It was the easiest.
Watch what I'm gonna unfold onto the community.
Yeah, he said he wanted to do the Warring Triad if he had a choice of his next one. So.
Yeah, I'm ready for that.
What puzzle is he going to throw in this one?
I don't want to know. I don't want to know. I'm scared. He's going to have Ozma over his shoulder like, don't worry, we're going to do this. All right? Your name will be on it. But they'll know.
Yeah, I'm just waiting on that one mechanic that just sets back. How long of your prog was it before you figured out
Woken? Actually, only about half a day. I'd say a little less than half a day. It took the time to reprog was fairly long, but getting to La Habrea was only about half a day. Yeah,
pretty much that's about accurate. At the half towards tail end of the day, you notice, oh, okay, this is what we need to do.
Yeah.
I just imagine Ozma coming into the room with a big folder and being like, "Yeah, I couldn't put these in the 20-minute fight, so here you go."
Just wait till they start doing 24 mans for ultimates. They start using it as a theme, and they actually get to do Ozma.
Oh my god!
But also to come back to the question, what they could do. Well, first of all, obviously, I think. I do agree with Happy as well that the next ultimate's probably going to be a riddle-based ultimate. I think they are 100% going to double down on the RNG. I think this is going to be every mechanic is going to be full RNG, no wall-based stuff anymore. And that is probably what they're doing. Or alternatively, if they do want to put role-based stuff in, what I was theorizing or playing around in my mind a bit, in the story sometimes where you take role of an NPC and you play as them and you get like a new hotbar of abilities. Now imagine if, let's say, they did something like in the Shadowbringers trailer where the player changes job to like a healer or like a tank or like a melee or ranged, and you gain a new hotbar of abilities that you then have for like, let's say, an intermission or like a short phase.
Isn't this
like
kind
that, I could see.
P4S tried
What
doing?
P4S was playing at, a little bit with the base stuff.
Different role,
Yeah, but he's saying take it another step and change your hotbar to force you to learn how to be a healer.
Learn how to play this job mid-fight.
Great. Just make me a white mage that it won't have a problem. Otherwise, maybe it's a problem. So, as long as it's only like 4 buttons. As long as it's not like that. I don't think he's suggesting you need to learn every ability for a job, and it's gonna it has to fit in like a few buttons. All right.
Yeah, it would be just a few buttons. It could be just used for like an intermission, but I think that could be an interesting idea to play around with. Maybe for a Savage on Extreme.
Maybe.
RNG is 100% the full. Everything in the ultimates is going to be RNG. It's just how you ramp up the difficulty and keep it modern.
I'm trying to think when's the last time we've actually had in Raid in general, a mechanic kind of like that, kind of like, I guess, Vril or the.
I'm so glad they stopped doing that.
A5 had the gorilla and the bird and stuff.
Yeah. There's Shinryu A5. There's Lakshmi. I'm sure there's another one. Omega had it.
Mm-hmm.
A normal mode.
True. Omega had.
No, now he's thinking about ultimate.
Omega had the button. That was only in normal mode, not in a Savage, but maybe in the ultimate.
Float and O2. Yeah, I mean they just did it all throughout Stormblood. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's my question. So, do you think
The duty
they bring
action,
That?
Yeah.
Yeah, they bring back the duty
Oh,
action.
E5. E5 would
ultimate.
be the last time. The tank mechanic, the where you have to block the Fury's 14
Oh, right.
as the tank. Yeah. That would be it. That would be the last time, I think.
Well, something I could also see happen for sure, like in the Warring Triad at least, is when you look at the extreme trials in FF, they usually have gimmicks that are more fresh or like gimmicky than in your typical fights. Like, for example, in this fight, if you look at Thordan used a lot of mechanics that you already saw in the game, right? And he just rehashed them to make it like trios, to make it difficult. But it was nothing like arena based or something like that. And I could see an ultimate going into that kind of theme where they utilize a lot of the gimmicky mechanics. For example, in Sophia, where you have the meteors on the left and right, and you need to count where is the knockback going to be.
I got you set here. I've already prepared this for you. Sephiroth's going to be smacking the arena to bounce it to one side, and there's going to be Zervan curse seals with the fire and ice when you land there, so you have to slide into the spot. Then the Sophia meteors come down on the other side, and you have to go back that way and do the same thing. But Sephiroth's about to cleave this side as well and go back the other way, so you got an arm's length by going back to the middle. And then there's going to be two meteors at once, and it's going to shift it to the side, and then there's Nisi for some reason. I don't know.
Yeah, for sure. It also goes back to what you mentioned earlier, that as we progress now into fights that happened later on in the game's lifetime, the quality increases massively. And also the idea of gimmicks, where they tried themselves out, is going way higher now. So, like, it increases in frequency. So I think I could definitely see an ultimate that is just going to play around with a lot of gimmicks from fights that you only see once in the trial and then never again.
Suzaku.
But you definitely notice that, like, for like 24 months and Extreme Trials, they try a lot of new things compared to like Savage and Ultimate.
Oh, yeah.
I hope you're ready for Suzaku. I hope you
DDR.
like
DDR, let's go.
Imagine an ultimate version of the actual intermission of Suzaku with like the air.
while uptime. Oh, they're going to do that 100%.
Well, there's extra plans. With extra plans going
Uptime at the same goddamn time. Holy shit, no.
You have to touch the extra
calm
plans while
down.
doing it.
Exaflare DDR and 2 minutes.
That's tough.
I think y'all just have nightmares about fights. This is how y'all come up with this bullshit. Y'all just have like random fucking nightmares about fights. That's what I think.
Byakuya also had this thing, right, where you're in the air and you're dodging the bullet
flying the
hell.
orbs.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, he had
just imagine that in an ultimate.
mini
That could
bullet
be
hell.
so cool.
Yeah, and then Seiryu just has he has just a bunch of like he has the outside of the arena, the water.
Yep.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So you're gonna have to swim through the water.
Swim.
Oh, you know what they
becomes a
could
swim level.
They could do Byaku's section, his section where you can't attack, but instead you have to swim through the water and not get hit by all the orbs. That would be a lot like the near hallway, but like the water equivalent.
And the riddle is that you need to go back to the water to dodge an inescapable AoE.
Yeah,
should
like the
use
whole
it
arena
like-
becomes an AoE, so you have to jump into the
That's
water.
the donut AoE, and that's Dynamo Chariot. It's water, not water.
Water, not water.
Sorry, Stall, not water. I prefer not water in this case. All right. We haven't even talked about Double Dragons yet.
Before the Double Dragon thing, I want to mention also the scene for the totem phase with the 3 dragons being related to the lore.
Yes.
And also the place where it takes place.
Yeah.
Oh, the place. It's actually Vatatoska's temple. That's why I think it's so cool that they pay attention to this detail. It's it's her temple that got destroyed over time by Nidhogg's minions.
Yep. It's where the Darkscale Fate is up north, and it's like a wider
exactly.
version. Yeah. Yeah. And Darkscale is one of the 3 dragons. The other ones are Vedrfolnir and Vidolfnir, which again, there's a fate for Vedrfolnir and Vidolfnir is part of the story a bunch. So. Not too
I
much
remember
of a
seeing a
surprise.
lot of groups go to that area to practice Death of the Heavens and stuff.
I hate doing that. I have so much PTSD from queuing into turn 4 to practice Wormhole that I like. I'm like, it's just the people start to like try to use the arena, but it's not the same arena, so like they can't envision it properly. I'm like, why did we spend so much time here? It drives me nuts. My team found out the hard way. I was like, oh my fucking god, we've been here 2 hours. Please,
Yeah, we never had to do that actually to like go into T4 or anything.
I hate doing it. I'm glad if it helps people. I just sit there and like let them work it out. Let them work it out. I'm gonna take a break. Go crazy. All right, my door creaking is bugging the shit out of me. Stop. There we go. It's because the window's open. So yeah. Okay. Coming down from the anger. Yeah. Double dragon phase. You let Thornton live, most likely, and you come to double dragon phase. Now, while I think the DPS check here is much easier, I'd say, after you've done it a few times than the Nidhogg phase, this is my favorite phase of the fight, personally.
I really like it too.
Yeah, it is a very, very respectable mechanic dance, despite being a full uptime phase, and it feels like it was designed intelligently enough, and again, credit to Mr. Ozma for this, that it understands they can give you shit patterns for DPS, and that it's balanced around the prospect of you potentially getting shit patterns for your melees and your tanks and stuff like that. And I respect it, and I'm a bard, I don't give a fuck. But for them, it's when the party has to go all the way to the back, you can't have your melees thinking like, well, how do I get uptime during the... You don't. You throw a fucking spear and you shut up. You don't have a choice. That's all you can do. 150 potency. Enjoy.
At least it doesn't break combo anymore.
Exactly. That's the whole point. I just love this phase. I love Raw Flames. I love the Fire Ice, both times it's used. The way Hraesvelgr is finally given some mechanics, basically Shiva mechanics, basically hiatus mechanics.
Yeah. But my general thought about this phase was that I'm surprised, or at least I haven't seen it, that nobody made a joke about A Song of Fire and Ice, because I felt like this was basically A Song of Fire and Ice. Like a Game of Thrones kind of,
Oh, that's a game. Okay,
reference.
I didn't watch Game of Thrones, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, neither did I. Sorry, Zeppe.
I made a very
joke.
very different joke about this phase.
Oh, I know which one.
Very different joke.
What was it?
Maybe we should not bring it up when I have sponsors for the show.
Okay.
I would refer to my Twitter. Okay, Sly, if you'd like to refer to my Twitter, go back a few days in the tweets and look at a tweet where I mentioned naming clips. In the meantime, we're gonna move forward and not linger on this. And yeah, cool face. Again,
It's definite.
Sorry.
Oh. My impression of the phase in general was at the very first time, oh, this is like so far into the fight, and there are a lot of mechanics where you need a bunch of data points and a bunch of polls in order to actually figure out what they are and what they do and how to solve it. I was very surprised that they put it that deep into the fight. So it really prolongs progression where you need to make it to that phase also.
Yeah, he found it. He found it.
You found it.
Oh, fuck. Sorry. Go ahead.
That does really add a lot of difficulty, and at the same time, while we were also on the topic a little bit here and there on like stream progression, if this was fully streamed, this would probably also make this phase a lot faster to progress through, because you have shared progression points across groups, so more data points means easier time to figure it out. Overall, what I also noticed was, at least in our group, that when we started having like panicky calls, usually this phase wipes you immediately. because as Ara also said in chat, like the bosses enrage so easily, so fast. Every single mistake enrages you, or enrages the bosses. That means you cannot progress anymore. You're done for this pull. You just spend 12 minutes and it's over. It was, I don't remember if it was on the first day or on the second day of progressing through the phase, but I pretty much immediately said, okay, from this pull on, I will do the calls. Later on, Skylar had as well, and I just did them as calm as possible. If the group is calm, then the phase will fall over, and it pretty much did. That after we said that and we did that method going forward, we pretty much got to the end immediately.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, for all you, I want to go back to that because, like, all the time when we talk about, you know, EXs or Savage in general, and you know, punishing mechanics, you know, you fuck up, you know, you get a damage down, and even in this, like, the punishment I feel is, I'm not going to say too severe, but like it just takes punishment to a new level. Like having a damage down in Nidhogg just pretty much screws the entire face up. And then like messing up a mechanic or dying for Hraesvelgr makes Hraesvelgr mad and you pretty much are fucked. What did y'all think about like having these types of punishments in comparison to stuff you've just seen in Savage?
I like it. I felt this feels very appropriate to an ultimate at modern times. You really need severe punishment in order to keep an ultimate fresh and also not have it die in just a few days. Because if you could zombie through the ultimate like you can in UCOB, I think the ultimate would die too fast. So having this kind of fail check really makes it remain at the 5, 6, 7 days for the first group, and then it's similarly for others.
Yeah, I do think with all the tools, jobs, and stuff have these days, like Red Mage, like instant reses, tank invulns, like even LD, you can heal it up yourself now. Like it definitely like makes it so you can just like not zombie through it and see more. So I think it's good for an ultimate.
Also, there are actually damage downs in this phase as well. If you get hit by the orbs.
Yeah, the orbs. Yeah, gives you damage down.
Yep. Although
So
this phase,
that.
you might reasonably be able to still kind of... you can do a lot that's beneficial to the phase even with that, especially while you're progging. So it's not like Nidhogg where, you know, you instantly kind of give up, I suppose. We had I think we had a damage down in one of our pulls, and we just walled them right before the transition, I think.
Yeah.
So, again, the DPS check here at least takes into account like the fact that you could get a bad pattern and you could just have a worse DPS. Like we had one pull where they're at 33% in the second Akafa. We had another pull where they're at 40%, but both pulls were final phase pulls. So it just goes to show how well balanced this phase actually can be. And I'm glad it doesn't really feel like they're pulling punches because it's late in the fight. Which is I'm not a huge fan of the end being the easiest. Yeah, I get why they do it, but I always want to feel like there's this escalating tension that isn't just my fear of making a simple mistake, which is what it is. Ultimate is built that way. The end is always
you go bad face.
But this one was this. The whole time I'm like, nobody fuck up.
What was your reaction to the first time, or reaction to two things? What was your first time reacting, or like first reaction to realizing that the ice and fire cancels each other out if you stack them? Did you notice that fast, or was that?
So I don't remember if I noticed it right away. So the way my group did prog was we essentially agreed that if you wished to look ahead, you could, but you were not to tell anyone what was going to happen going into the next phase until we saw it. But I think for that, because once we got there, we saw that's the first mechanic that happens. It immediately became a discussion point, and it wasn't like as much of a mystery So I think I just saw a bunch of tethers and freaked the fuck out. And then somebody who had looked ahead had basically been like, yes, they cancel each other out. I think that's what happened, because I don't recall any like immediate reaction to seeing those or thinking that about them. But I didn't know later that they were gonna cancel each other out with the cauterizes. That was a surprise to me.
Well, that speaking of cauterize, I wanted to ask her, what was your reaction to cauterize?
I don't know. I saw that there was no way to avoid it, so I think it kind of solved itself immediately. When I saw the AoEs, I saw one was fire, one was ice, and it just, at that point I had already been educated from how they interacted, so it just instantly made sense to me. I just couldn't figure out how the tanks were supposed to work there, and when we figured it out, we were like, oh, it's just
Invuln.
Yeah.
It's when we saw it the first time, also we were like, is this the Enrage?
Yeah.
And so we had like a couple of like things we wanted to try. Like we even like had like lore discussions. We were like, okay, so we could try killing one of them, right? So that the side is free. And then we were like, okay, who do we kill though?
Which one?
And we were like, well, my idea was, okay, we kill Vesvelga because maybe Vesvelga doesn't actually die, and like below 20%, he's like, oh, my Neuralink is gone. Thank you so much. I will help you kill Nidhogg. And then this cutscene starts. So that was one idea. So one of the first polls we actually then tried to kill Vesvelga to get him to 0.1%, but he just stays alive. You cannot kill him before. And the other counter argument was, okay, what if we defeat Nidhogg instead? Because how do the elegant collars actually work? How does the device work? If the owner of it is not alive anymore, does it still control you? So we were like, okay, both are feasible. We just have to try one. But after Vesvelga stayed alive at 0.1, we pretty much knew, okay, we have to do something else.
We have to figure out a way to get the things through and stuff.
Yeah, we had to figure out a way to keep the Ice and Fire on a player and also have the tanks survive. Tanker B3 was one of our ideas, but we also immediately said, like, that's probably not it.
Yeah. Yeah, I think for us, I think it was just there's already so much information circulated that the people who were unknowing, like myself, I think it was 6 of us who were completely unknowing until we got to a mechanic. It was immediately kind of undone by the 2 that were aware, because at that point we were against the clock, in terms of how many hours people were going to be able to do at that point. So that definitely impacted it a little bit more than if we had cleared it in 7, 8, 9 days, however long it would have taken. But I didn't feel like it really detracted, because that whole phase, like I said, is one heart pumping thing of just nobody. Especially because let's say you did lose someone to Hrey, and Hrey was at 0.1%, and you could theoretically kill them at the end. The touchdown is the ultimate no, you won't.
Yeah, for sure.
It's like, oh, Hraesvelgur's all the way on the other side. Maybe we'll... No, 90,000 damage. That's 100,000, 120. Nope. Okay. No, we are not surviving that. So... I like the last little touch. Also, the proximity touchdown at the end is a real go fuck you. It's like Titan's proximity and Uwu. You're like a step too far forward and it just obliterates your fucking health bar.
Yeah, that's also why we kind of thought it wasn't Tanko B for like a second, because of the touchdown damage, because we weren't sure if it was a drop off or just like that amount of damage.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Also, to answer the question of Alice in chat, we got to add... I have a bunch of timestamps noted down. We got to Dragons on Friday at noon EST, pretty much on the clock.
It's pretty quick.
That answer.
It's pretty fucking quick.
The first time we saw the Cidus, I remember DMing Zeppe. I really thought like we have to cancel them out probably at some point. Maybe not the first set, but like definitely at some point. Because of like it was very obvious, like Feist and Aya kind of thing again.
It just makes sense. The tank thing was, I think, the tougher thing to figure out there. Like, no, like actually the dragon heads, like glowing or not glowing, and how that affected the tanks probably was the big thing. I mean, it affected the other positioning too, but I think that was really big. So
I think the biggest struggle we had was actually the Hand of Pain.
Yeah, fucking Hakafa.
I think that was our biggest struggle actually, that phase.
We figured out everything like very, very quickly, and also came up with strategies very fast. But we had Hand of Pain Disbelievers, and we had Hand of Pain Believers. So it took us a night to sleep on it to come to a conclusion about it.
Go to the vaults, every pull, see the percentages.
Yeah, because we had like some really weird situations with it. Like many times we actually didn't see it at all, so our pull was basically just wasted because naturally we had them at the exact same percentage. But on the other times, what happened was one of our ideas was, okay, maybe, so we know that the Akafa is baited on the furthest healer. So we thought, okay, maybe it's about the healer positioning in terms of like proximity in regards to the dragon. And if the tether is white or purple, you go to that dragon and place the stacks there. And if you do that, you coincidentally also probably meet the check because it's the only dragon you can attack because you're right on the dragon. But one time the dragons were so far away, or like the difference was too big that it didn't work out anymore. And then we agreed on like, okay, this is not the way. Let's figure something out. And then overnight, our caster looked at it again. I was like, okay, yeah, every poll, it was just the HP diff. And then we said, yeah, it's just the HP diff. Everyone agreed with it.
We had a poll.
We did think, however...
Oh, sorry. Sorry.
Well, we pretty much did... The first time we did bring it up, the reason why we had people not believe in it was because 2% is hella tight.
Yeah.
And in T, it was 6%. So it's quite the difference in terms of like precision that's required here. But on the other hand, the HP is also not comparable. So,
and the other one also happens like 6 times, and this one happens, twice.
Twice, yeah. The other thing is also, again, he did put every mechanic into this fight.
Constant PTSD of everything. Over and over and over again. It just keeps happening. I remember we had a really confusing pull with that because we actually didn't know. We knew it was like a similar health mechanic, but we didn't know the threshold. And there was a pull where we survived, and I immediately tabbed between the two of them. One was at 74, one was at 67. We just hit one so hard that it went from 72 to 67 before I fucking tabbed over to it. Because we held our twos until after the fire and ice for whatever reason. So we just got blasted. Meanwhile, another pull, somebody targeted the wrong one, and we had one at 59 and one at 81. That was not fun.
Definitely remember a group calling multiple times, don't overdo it. When we said to hit one boss, and it's like, don't overdo it, make sure you swap back in time to the other one.
I think it happened to us only once where we overdid
it only happened like once. Yeah.
But usually we
everyone get the good eye on it.
Managed to get it, yeah.
Oh boy. And then you get through it all, and you are rewarded with everyone was waiting, like, when's the transition? When's the transformation? What's going to happen? And the game kind of fakes you out. It makes you think you're going back to eye phase. Alphino shows up, starts hitting the red eye, even though it's untargetable. And again, really nice detail. Alphino has unique dialogue for Thornton returning and taking the eyes. He talks about how he can't believe he's about to do it. He grabs Estinian and tries to drag him away to get him out of the battle, and a bunch of stuff like that.
Will there never be peace between dragon and men and stuff?
Yeah. Again, really appreciate it. And again, Issail's in the back, Hoshfont's in the back, fighting. So, just all these little things that I just appreciate so much. And then...
Yeah, I really liked how Alphino runs to the Estinian and covers him for the alternate end.
But did they actually die, though?
No, he says we need to get Estinian out of the way, and then they do the vanishing thing, which indicates that they've, it's like when you talk to an NPC, they walk 2 steps and vanish, but somehow they're at the quest when you get there.
I never saw the vanish thing from my POV, so I just assumed they would just get, blown up by the Eternal Defense every time.
Blasted to death. Also, alternative end is the minstrel did that, because no way Thornton thought of that, all right? Alternative end. It's a cool way of doing it. But yeah, and then we get this phase's this phase's, super ultimate new thing, and that is Dragon King Thordan. Thank you, Thunder God Sid, for your model.
And the PTSD kicks in right away.
Yep.
With the first mechanic.
My exact words. Oh, for fuck's sake.
Same, TVH. The first time... Okay, so obviously now that the phase is like more known and people can look at the mitigation macros and everything, and with the other Extra Flare strat being out. The first time we saw this Extra Flare, we had the Chariot with it, and we were like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
But moderate. Interesting, but moderate. Next poll, we get there. It's the Dynamo. And we are all on the edge of the map, and we just insta away.
It's like just silence.
Just silence. Because I remember like we had one meme across the group which was like, if you assume something works in one way, just stop. There's probably a variance for this. It probably has another way that you just haven't seen yet. And this was just another case of it.
God, that fucking Dynamo Chariot with every mechanic. It's so subtle in the other two. Like, it's a little movement. For the X's, the thought of it is just like, I don't want to do... I have seen some wild fucking dodges other than the World Second team's dodge, which I think is the standard one at this point. I've seen like a center point to like between two of them to like one where you like loop around if it's like I was just like, it's fucking don't.
Yeah, the way how we handled that was basically if it was Chariot, do whatever you want, just don't die. And if it was Dynamo, you would look at the arrows of the 3 extra flares, and the one extra flare that is not being pointed at is going to be the safe spot. And our other 9th ILS was in the hyperbolic time chamber practicing on VODs, on speedy calls for the extra flare.
Yeah.
And here's a funny story. He did that, and he DM'd me. He was like, I've practiced so much on the VOD. I'm ready for this. And first time we get there, and Aya's now ready to call it. It's a Dynamo. We are inside. He calls one. We go there, and we die. And there's just complete silence. Because I was like, yeah. But we pretty much just said, okay, take a deep breath, pull again, it happens, whatever.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter. Next poll, we got it. That is probably like definitely not the... I don't know, I'm not sure what the intended strat is. I know when I was looking back at the previous victory laps, I always noticed they have this tendency to make it appear wild and difficult, but in reality, the moment you take a deeper look and investigate a little bit, you will notice there's a pattern that makes it really easy to solve and actually execute. And I feel like they've literally just done the same thing, and I think it's an active design choice that they have here to make it appear, whoa, triple extra flare? What the heck? And then it's actually, there's a way to do this consistently every single time without having to worry about it.
Do you like that though? Do you prefer it that way? Because I know Artis was saying you should hotfix it and like make it so you cannot do that dodge anymore.
I think it's fine.
Why did you say that though?
Because he thinks it's too easy of a face now. Because of being able to do it that way every time.
I mean, it's harder than any of the other final phases, like the last 3 minutes, I'd still say, in terms of like comparing it to the last 3 minutes of Perfect or the last 3 minutes of Ultima or the last 3 or Golden. Like X's aside, it's the most involved last 3 minutes of an encounter that we have.
Full agree. Yeah,
especially if you're a healer.
The way I pretty much describe this phase to every group that asked me or every person that asked me is it's Golden UCOP. It's Golden phase from UCOP, but told from the Wandering Minstrel in 2022. Golden on crack, basically. And I think this is pretty accurate to it still. If you consider how they've done the dodge mechanic before, then this falls just in line with it, where there is a strat that makes it really easy. When I did see I did talk to the World Second group a bunch, and they told me about the strat before anything was like shown yet. And I was like, damn, that is a wild strat. That is going to trivialize this phase so much.
Yeah.
Yep.
You are absolutely genius for figuring this out.
Imagine if we knew that on the 0.2 on the day before.
Yeah.
So funny thing, in my clear, I accidentally discovered something I didn't know going into that there is an uptime Giga, like that, or an uptime Exa, where you never ever have to take that step back, but it requires you to pay attention.
Right. This is the way we did it, right? It's
the one
where
with the Dynamo.
One if you have Dynamo, it works on both Dynamo and Chariot. One extra flare is always going to be a safe spot in the center of it.
Yeah.
That is a way you can obviously do it if you want to, but it's the more difficult.
Yeah, I did it by accident. I just lost track of the booty, so I just dodged into the Exa flare in front of me. So, and it happened to be that Exa flare. But I could have been unlucky, because if you go to that Exa, the uptime Exa, and you actually do take the step back, there's a chance that one of the other two will actually clip into the back. So you have to be very sure.
You need to be dead center of the Exa flare in order to be safe.
Yeah, so I got 50-50, or I'm sorry, I had 66-33'd, I think, into that not killing us and causing us to lose that pull. So thank God that didn't happen. But the auto attack mechanic is probably my favorite thing of the phase.
I really like it.
Yeah, it's two autos on the main tanks. They get both. They both get a different debuff, a light or a dark, depending on who's first, who's second. And then the third one is basically a shit ton of debuffs on a third closest person, and that person's not a tank, so there's no way they could take a. They give you a physical vol, and a light up, a light down, a dark down. They make sure it's very apparent you will not take another attack, or it will kill you. And I just like that extra attention to detail between each of the mechanics, that the autos being a mechanic. I like that detail.
Yeah. When we saw that mechanic as well, and we started to see further and further into the phase, and we started to think about the auto attacks and everything, in my mind I was just like, please don't tell me this is an actual phase with actual mechanics. Please don't. No.
Yeah.
And it is and it isn't.
Far.
It is and it isn't, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, once you see the next extra after the Giga Flare, you kind of like, okay, it probably just loops.
Yeah, and you're like, thank God it just loops. Because, like, the Akmorn, the way the Akmorns is done, very static, but also, you know, again, the in-out variance, plus it's still a big mitigation heal check. And the Giga's in-out, and then, you know, a simple rotator pass through the boss to get to another safe spot. So, it's just keeping it steady.
What I absolutely love about this final phase, I felt, so after the revisions in Shadowbringer and Endwalker, when you go back into UCOP or UVU, the mitigation checks don't feel as tight anymore. In UCOP, you usually just use a tank LB as well on every single mana far. So if people forget the mitigation, it's usually like, it's whatever. In UVU, the same. It's a little bit more tight, but usually it's still very forgiving. In T, I feel it's a little, also again a little bit less tight, but also still forgiving. And this time it's actually just like it was in UCOP 2017, where if you miss your mitigation, that is probably over. You will have severe troubles going through the Akmorn because the healing is pretty tight on it. That is something I really, really enjoyed again, like seeing this happen. And it also made me appreciate the comment of the developers before the Ultimate that said we gave certain jobs, or like most of the jobs, not machinists, mitigation tools to like play around with, right? And everyone is going to have to use their new tools in order to get through this fight. And I was very, very happy to see that actually being true.
Love that you threw that not machinist in there.
Not machinist.
Sadness.
Oh boy.
And at the end of it all, you cry. And you have to go back and rewatch the final cutscene that they play because it's much longer than it normally is. Because it's a full-on close to a story, to this alternate story.
It's a really good cutscene, yeah.
Yeah, but I literally started trying to read it, but I was so overwhelmed with the fact that I didn't have to wake up at 3 a.m. I couldn't. Like, I was just like, I can't. He's. I don't. Very emotionally charged by the end of it all. What a fucking wild ride.
Yeah, it was definitely a journey to progress through this fight. So when we cleared, it was like all the emotions just came out, just everything.
It's funny,
especially as I guess we didn't mention this yet, but we saw. Let me check. I have the timestamp. So we saw the first time this phase on Saturday at 10 p.m. EST, and we thought that we were behind. We thought there was another group or like another groups even, that were on this phase and progressing through it. And we said on the Saturday, okay, this is the final phase. Let's push. Let's do this. And then we progressed further and decided for a 5-hour sleep for Sunday. Progressed through the phase. The entire Sunday had really low N rages, like 0.2 or 2%. And when the consistency dropped eventually due to human limits and fatigue, we had to make the call to go to bed, take a power nap. And at that time, we were really like, this is it. We lost.
Yeah.
We had the shot at the 0.2%. And it was not meant to be. And then we were like, okay, this is it. We go bad. But after we got bad, we were clear. And then when we came back after bad, we cleared it in like 1.5 lockouts. But
and surprisingly, nobody else killed it.
That pretty much explains like why we were like so emotionally charged after, because there was a lot of going into that.
Yeah, I think most people have been just breaking down immediately upon being done with it too. I remember.
Also, like for me personally, well, the team was actually sleeping for 4 hours because it was actually me doing the call. I felt very guilty, and I also was just like, whenever I laid down to like close my eyes, I was like, I can't sleep now, I can't. So I was just talking to friends a little bit and took a hot bath, stayed up for the 4 hours, and then when the team came back from sleep, I cheered up everyone and then just said, let's go, let's get this.
I think the biggest telltale sign of the mood, I forget whose clear video I watched, but once they got to clear and you could hear the jubilation, all of a sudden I hear someone scream, I can finally do something else. And
oh yeah,
like that is the biggest. Yeah, it's like not only just wanting to get sleep, just being able to do other shit now after you've gone through like so many days of this.
Yeah, there was a lot of relief. I hope that the developers don't take it the wrong way. I personally do enjoy long fights, but I can definitely see like, what? Like, you know, if you're a designer, right, and you hear people say something like that, you would assume, oh, maybe we should tone it back, you know, make it easier again. But I hope they don't actually do that. I hope they remain on a like similar difficulty level.
Next fight's gonna be 30 minutes, by the way.
Shut up.
I would prefer it to be slightly shorter, just a little bit.
It's gonna be a 15-minute fight followed by a checkpoint into a 9-minute fight.
Oh my God.
I would agree with that. Something like that I can agree more with. Personally, I love the 19 minutes, but I can definitely agree with people saying, this is too long for us. It's very difficult. It's very execution heavy. So if their solution is to split the fight up more and have like, let's say 2 checkpoints, 3 checkpoints, and then they're like, let's say like 4 or 5 minutes, and then the second part is like 15. I think I would also be fine with that still.
Yeah, I want them to more creatively use checkpoints to create longer encounters if they're gonna dial back how much time there is, like from beginning to enrage. I do want them to have more creative use with the checkpoints now that they've shown they can incorporate them and there's no negative stigma. Like there was initially, because people are used to how they use checkpoints before. And this undid that, at least in terms of how they could use it for Ultimate. So I think if they intelligently use them, we could see longer even encounters than this one in terms of collective time between the two.
Yeah.
But if they decide to do one straight encounter, I think that one that is 19 to 20 minutes is good occasionally.
One wish I would have, though, if they go deeper into this theme, is that upon meeting a checkpoint, I would love for the instance timer to be reset.
Yes.
Yeah, just give me a longer instance timer in general.
Yeah. I'd be okay. I'd be very, very, very okay with that. Either of those results. So the big thing is this being the 6.1 Ultimate. I think the 0.1 Ultimates have more room to be longer encounters. I think if they stick to 0.3, which is their current plan, we'll see if it pans out that way. I think that the exhaustion of raid groups, both in their paid time off and in their general emotion towards progging, going from Savage to Ultimate to Savage to Ultimate to Savage, which would happen if there is a 6.3 Ultimate and they do make that schedule. If it's another 20 minute, I think they do run into a negative feedback of the exhaustion.
Yeah. The more mid-go groups and stuff will definitely not like that.
Yeah, because people literally can't take paid time off that. Like, a lot of people just can't do that frequently.
I think you can also make the argument for this Ultimate, at least, that we had this long downtime between the Ultimates, right?
Yeah.
And in a way, I also felt like this was them saying, hey, you guys remember Ultimate? You guys been saying this game is easy? Yeah, look at this. It's not.
One thing also about the checkpoints is Savage. I would definitely prefer if the checkpoints for Savage were just same as this one, where it's only like 2 to 3 minutes.
Yes, I miss X-Death. I miss X-Death.
Not a 8-minute fight checkpoint and then 5-minute fight.
X-Death is still my favorite way they've ever used a checkpoint in a Savage. A 4-minute, super intense, quick DPS check, followed by a 12.5-minute, final boss. I love it.
I agree.
So much.
Definitely the way to go for checkpoints.
There's one more reason why I would love that so much more. And it's because I think the 8-minute encounters suffer from only having 2 potions, and that makes a DPS check inherently easier. Because you have one guaranteed potion that you have on the opener that people usually never miss, and then you only have to do one more potion correct. Whereas if you have a longer fight with 1 HP pool, that means you need to do 3 potions now in total that you need to do correct.
I wonder if they'll ever do a Savage where they do a shit ton of trio style downtime phases, but the boss health is much lower in exchange for it. I wonder.
Maybe.
Have they done that before? Something similar?
For Savage? I mean, they've done downtime phases, but I mean, that's the primary gimmick is these big downtime phases.
Neo has a few, but they're not really downtime, I guess. He has trio-ish, but it's not really downtime. For Neo X-Death.
Yeah, also, don't forget, we could also get another 14-minute slugfest like E8S, even with the cutscene in the middle.
I was about to say, I actually don't think we will have another door boss in P8 or P12.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised.
I think they noticed on E12, or at least I noticed it as a player, that if you have the door boss, it makes they make the second fight not as difficult. It's more so, figure out the mechanic, how they work, but executing it is easier in comparison. And and they had E4 and E8 long fights, and then E12 was 2 short fights. I think they are doing the reverse now, where P4 is the door boss, and then P8 and P12 are going to be the long ones. At least I do 100% think P12 is going to be a long fight, for sure.
Yeah. I mean, I hope that they're just both long fights, to be honest.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
if they want to do a checkpoint again, X-Death, Neo X-Death.
Yeah, Gaia definitely felt like a ultimate last phase to me, at least from the mechanics. Like it just felt like a ultimate last phase where it just like it does the same mechanics but just slightly changes it every time.
Maybe they put a checkpoint into the first fight.
P1, you mean?
In P5, P9.
Why would there be a checkpoint there?
Why not?
Faust.
Yeah,
why
Put
not?
another Faust in?
Yeah. There you go.
I just want any excuse to fucking throw Faust in.
I hope they just use Faust. Like, just use him. Like, just don't even
Make
change
it ultimate Faust.
Ultimate Faust. Yeah, there's 3 Fausts in the game. They could do
Yeah,
an Ultimate Faust.
Yeah,
Brute
the origin
Faust.
of Faust.
Yeah.
The origins of Faust. Who the hell came up with Faust?
That's something if they run out of ideas from all the other fights.
Listen, there's a
Find
bunch
the
of stuff they
ancients.
didn't
Wouldn't that-
actually
wouldn't that
use
be
in
just-
Alexander. Let's just get it all together.
Wouldn't that just be 3 doors then? You got Faust, and then what was the second
3
Faust,
doors?
and
Is that the name? 3 doors ultimate?
Yeah.
Yeah, and then they combine and he has like 12 arms with this
Brute Faust.
the Crudel thing. Yeah.
Yeah, Brute Faust. Brute Faust, and they'll
I just-
actually remember to include height this time.
Ooh. Yeah.
Oh, I just had this is going to be off topic again. I just had a really cool idea with loops and checkpoints. You know what they could do for the next ultimate? Okay. Let's say we have a P1, yeah? And you can do 3 things different, and you do one thing and you have a checkpoint, and that phase is like 6 minutes long. And after that phase, you do it correctly, you gain a buff. Now you go back to P1. Now you have to progress to P2 at the next checkpoint, the second checkpoint, and you get another buff there. And now you do it.
Collecting 2 badges.
This isn't
And
Final
you collect
Fantasy
badges,
11.
and after you collect 3 badges, you can do the P1 correct now, and then you get the victory lap.
The final 4.
Bro, I'm here to kill bosses. This isn't. I'm not trying to figure out absolute virtue again. Like I'm just. I'm not into it. It's like I'm moved on. Oh man. But that's Dragonsong's Reprise in a nutshell. It's about a 2.5 hour nutshell, but it's a nutshell, all right.
Mm-hmm.
What a fucking fight.
True.
Wait, Sly. I have a question.
It's
Sly, you haven't
one
been in
fight
there
of
yet?
many.
Nope.
You've not tried it? Oh.
No,
Are
Nope.
you going to?
Nope.
Nope.
Not until I get people. Not until I get people.
Yeah.
Again, I do have a static, but like if I want to do ultimate, like I'm pretty sure some of them maybe wouldn't want to do ultimates, but I would need to assemble a newer form of the Avengers. So I need to get.
Do we
people.
need a rich style party to do Sly?
Just
Are
do
we
it in the
gonna,
same
like,
group.
no.
The Sly
One
song,
group.
the Sly song Reprise.
I'm up for that. You can sign me up.
Let's do it. I mean, you got to beat P4 and make sure you're BIS for at least full item level first, because I don't know how your group's.
Yeah.
Your group still raids just like once or twice a week, right?
One day a week.
Sunday
One day a week.
still? Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay, I figured as much. Sly match. God damn it. That's good.
Sly get a rich.
That's gonna be the Sly match instead of Rich match. That's good. All right. Well, there is another topic that we could discuss, but given we're already 40 minutes over, I think, if anything, a quick statement at most would be of interest. If
Oh, I got this. I got it. Okay.
Yeah. What's up?
So Yoshi P made a statement on the Lodestone. It has been of contention this week from a lot of content creators. Happy made a video.
About the housing
Yesterday.
update, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Housing update.
Yeah, let's see.
Yeah, you should probably go check it out. I mean, poor Happy. He was struggling to get through the fucking video. Like it's like the issue's that fucking bad. But you should probably go check it out. Derive your own opinions. Again, this is like everybody has their opinions, and they probably said it on Twitter or in some video form or on stream. I know I talked about it the other day myself. But I will say this. Like I like even with all the quote unquote controversy, Rovar still needs their pick. So again, no fucking allegedly or bullshit.
Thank you.
There you go. You get
Thank you a
the
lot.
Yoshi P point from me. It might
Thumbs
not be
up.
worth much. There you go.
No, it's definitely.
Yeah.
Thank you. It's
Definitely feels good to have most of the community still support of Wolfer's achievement.
I do think we made a huge mistake there. I think the entire group also completely understands where Yoshida's statement is coming from, and I think collectively, for us at least, I can say this for the entire group's player skill. Whatever was used is not necessary for no one. It was always considered just a nice to have, never a must have, and it was a mistake. So there's that.
And y'all on forums, mass reporting people, dude, get the fuck out of here. Stop doing
Get a
it.
hobby.
Do something else with your time. For the love of fucking God, please. It's not that big a deal, bro. There's numbers and commas. Like, get over it. That's the end of it. Anyway, that'll be the last this channel touches on that topic. Just felt like it was unavoidable to briefly have to have a discussion given everything that's happened. But we're
Yeah,
already,
that's absolutely fine.
yeah.
Yeah, there's plenty of videos talking about it already, including yours.
Yeah.
So.
I think everyone can just make their own opinions on it.
Yeah.
Talk to people, talk to the top end groups, ask them what they think about it. And honestly, that's probably the only thing you can really do.
And then move on. Grab some popcorn and join the spectator crowd. I got Doritos. Do whatever it is you feel like you got to do. On that note, liquor. Yeah, I definitely felt like I needed one of those shelves the last week. Sly.
Oh yeah, after we cleared, I like on the day of the like when we were about to clear, I told the group, yo, regardless of win or lose, I don't care. But after we clear, I'm gonna pop open a bottle of liquor. I'm gonna get so drunk.
Yeah.
I like that.
My man.
Celebrate. All right. With that, thank you everyone for joining us for this episode of State of the Realm. Sly and I have to have a discussion about the next several showings because now I'm free. I'm free, Sly.
You're all free now.
Well, not all of us, but us three are free. Well, no, Skylar's not, but Skylar. No, I mean you're freer.
I'm raiding in 10 minutes.
All right, let's wrap it up then.
He's not free. He's not free.
I'm going back in.
Going back.
Yo.
All right. Well, let's get you to that because you probably want to use the restroom or eat something real quick before you go.
Yeah.
Thanks for joining. Zeppe, why don't you tell everyone where they can find you at?
On Twitter at Zeppe Monado, not with the Y, with the E, and on Twitch Zeppe899. Also, just a quick shout out: if anyone actually needs someone for a group or some reprog or friends for anything, feel free to DM me. I'm pretty free, so
Cool.
also to you, Sly, as well. If you actually want
See,
to do
Sly,
it.
we can do it. We can organize it, Sly. Just gotta make sure you got it. Okay. Yeah, Zeppe, Zyppe. Yeah, that's what it meant. Yeah. There you go. Skylar, why don't you tell everyone where they can find you at, what you're working on at the moment?
Skylar TNT on Twitter and Twitch. I'll probably be streaming on DSR in a couple minutes, maybe. If not, probably Cleese will be. So can watch that.
All right. Sly?
You can find me at twitch.tv/Sly, aka Gray Fox. You can find me on Twitter at Sly Fox. Otherwise, stationwsoy.com for all of our Station WSOY stuff. Speaking of which, if you are on Primal and you run a venue, let me know on Twitter. I'm planning a thing. So please let me know. And happy.
I'm free. Well, I'm actually working on Ultimate guides at the moment, and also some other things that are late. Versus series. We're also patiently waiting for a potential 16 trailer. We were told it would be soon, and we told it was done. We told that the trailer would be soon, and so we might be getting ready for some big Final Fantasy count-up stuff, replaying the whole franchise again, and doing a bunch of incentives and things like that. So that is looking to be hopefully a fun time, but we are waiting on that. And that's largely what I'm waiting on. Otherwise, right now, I'm just chill. Thank you to our sponsors over on Patreon again for supporting our Patrons of Darkness, Khuja Cross, and Kurenai. Thank you to both of you, and thank you to everyone for supporting over there. You don't have to. We produce the content the same for everyone, but we love you all the same. And so Skylar can actually get out of here. I'm not going to drag this on any longer. So thanks everyone for tuning in. We'll have a very short post show because again, Skylar needs to get the fuck out because I know what it's like to be in that situation. So thanks everyone for hanging out. We'll see you later. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Love you. See you soon. Wrap
Bye bye.